All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the channel. Thank you again for coming to the channel, Mason. But we're doing another episode of the trainer profiles here on the Old Card Shop. Everyone, this is Mason from Cardinal Gaming. If you're not already familiar with him, you definitely should be. But yeah, I want to hand the reins over to Mason, let him introduce himself, and just say welcome to the channel. If people maybe aren't familiar with you, maybe give a little spiel about yourself, like your YouTube handle, social media is where people can find you. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'm feeling it. And I'm just ready to talk some Pokemon. I am Mason from Cardinal Gaming. It's a game store in Louisville, Kentucky. I am one of the owners. And I make YouTube videos talking about the market and distribution side of things, just running a store. I have a series called Card Shop Candids that I'm particularly proud of. That talks about the ins and outs of owning a card store and kind of like the things to think about and the things that you maybe don't think about when maybe if you want to open a card store yourself, or you just maybe frequent one and you want to know why we do things the way we do. So it's a nice little series that I'm, like I said, I'm particularly proud of. And but yeah, we have a online store, cardinalgaming.com. We do Instagram stuff. It's all Cardinal Gaming, just how it's card and all gaming, spelled just like that. On everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So we do all kinds of social media stuff, and it's all roughly nerdy anime stuff that we sell. But yeah, we do focus primarily on Pokemon stuff when we do talk about cards. So that's kind of a fun part of the channel. And that's what I love to do. So that's what I try to make a lot of posts and then talk about the most.
I gotta be honest, I'm geeking out a little bit here just because you're one of the first channels on YouTube that I really gravitated towards and thought brought some
Okay.
different sort of value to the YouTube game. When I first started watching a lot of the Pokemon content, it was a lot of pack rips. You know, you start with Leonhart and Pokerev
Sure.
and kind of get into that kind of, the unlisted leaf. And then you go more a little farther down the rabbit hole and you find the more market analysis videos. Everyone's talking about what to buy, top 5 cards, top 5 this. But really one of the first channels I really enjoyed that had some different content that I particularly valued was your channel, because it really focused on, like you said, you and Danny Phantom were sort of the only 2 channels I could think of at the time that focused a lot on the behind the scenes, like the distribution, what it was like to kind of own a card shop, and it was like sort of distributing that stuff. And for me, I was a game store brat growing up. Like I sort of had a little bit of a rough and tumble family life, so I spent a lot of time outside of my house at a game store that I had really a great local game store in my area. So I built a lot of memories there. So I see a lot of value in game stores. So it was always really sort of a dream, I don't want to say a pipe dream of mine, but a dream to start a small game store and be able to do something like that I always loved. But it wasn't ever something that I found myself really being able or thinking that I'd ever be able to actually actualize. So here I am. I have a YouTube channel I named The Old Card Shop, and we sell cards now, and I'm talking to you, Mason, who I think you're a story or a great symbol of what I think is a pillar of the hobby, the small
Whoa.
game store. That
Whoa.
I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
I
to
don't know
throw
about all
that,
that.
but really though, the local game store really is a pillar of the hobby, and I can speak from experience that, like, for a lot of kids and a lot of people in communities who maybe feel awkward at school or don't necessarily have a great place to go, you can go to your local game store and sit down at a table with Pokemon cards, or Magic the Gathering, or whatever the local MetaZoo or whatever the local hype is at the time, whatever it is, and you can have some fun and make some friends and sort of have a safe place to go. And so I always felt like there's a lot of value in that. So I'm just going to say thank you for coming on again. I'm sort of geeking out with you here. So I'm happy. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit, get into some of this. I think this will be a good opportunity for us to talk about some things. I really do want this to focus a lot on the small game store aspect, though. Like you said, sort of the things that your channel focuses on a lot anyway. So a lot of my questions, a lot of them might be a little bit geared towards that. But I do have some things sort of set aside that I wanted to ask, though. But thanks again for coming on. So everyone, if you are not familiar, go right now, go like and subscribe this video, but go then follow Cardinal Gaming, because he's going to give you some good information. But before that, I want to ask the first question here. I think this is sort of a great place to start, but This is something that not everyone really knows, but where did you? I don't know this about you even. I've been watching a
Hmm.
channel since the beginning, but where did you really start getting into the hobby? Did you consider yourself like first and foremost a Pokemon fan? Were you in it in the first wave, or did you kind of get into it a little later, or are you more like a new fan? So I guess just where did you get in the hobby, or where did you start with?
No, yeah, I was an OG for sure. Base set when that started rolling out, and hitting the middle school, uh, you know, schoolyards and trading and stuff. We definitely had Pokemon growing up, and played the Game Boy games and all that stuff growing up. So yeah, just really was just a big fan of the entire series growing up. Uh, and then, like everybody else, after Gen 2 and that kind of stuff, we all kind of faded out of it and kind of got out of it. But the big spark that really what drove me to opening up my business was when I got married with my wife, and we have she had kids that I inherited, and they were going through my old collection of stuff, and they were looking at it one day, and they started wanting to play, so they started to pick up and actually play Pokemon, which is kind of a novel thing that some people don't do, but a lot of people don't do. But
Hey, what?
we st- we start. I mean, not everybody plays the game. A lot of people just collect. So, but yeah, we started going to a local store near us, and they started getting kind of serious into it. And we even went up to Indianapolis. Always had, or used to have nationals for the U.S. every
So
year.
around
This is
what
always
year would you
up
say
in
this
Indy.
was, just for reference point?
This was probably 10 years ago now,
Okay, so it's
because
pretty a while.
we got married.
It was what before the Pokemon Go phase.
Yeah, this
Okay,
was this was like black and white. I remember like opening up like Boundaries Crossed and the plasma sets with them. So it was about that era of the card game to put it on a timeline that way. But eventually, after we played for a couple years, again, like everybody, kind of fade out of it and move on to something else and doing other stuff. So I had my collection, I had their collection of stuff we had, and I was just sitting there like, okay, great. Now what do I do with this stuff? What do I get some of my money back here? So I started to sell it on eBay, and see if there's a market for it, and obviously there was. And even 10 years ago, a lot of people still collected and bought those older stuff, and we had some good stuff too. So it was stuff that sold pretty well. I was like, man, there's still a lot of money in this stuff. And my old stuff, of course, back then we thought it was pretty good, but of course now it'd be ridiculous if I still had it. But whatever. Uh, so I was like, okay, all right. So I went on, started buying collections and going on Craigslist, and Facebook was kind of a thing, not really, but for as far as like a marketplace goes, 10 years ago. But buying collections off people and then flipping it on eBay and doing that. So that was like a little side hustle I did for a little while, and eventually one day I met my partner Zach. He posted on somewhere on Facebook saying that he wanted to open a card store and who was interested. And it was me, him, and three other guys that sat down for like the initial meeting. Never met any of these guys in my life. Just was like, all right, sure, let's see what's up.
just posting on the internet,
Yeah,
just
just
posting.
throwing it out there, just literally like a shot in the dark.
And
So
what around what year would you say this was at this point? Had Pokemon Go
this
start?
would have been this would have been probably 8 years ago, because we started 7 years ago. I was trying to do the math, because Facebook just, I got like a little memory thing about us opening up our first brick and mortar 5 years ago. So
Oh wow,
that's kind of like the timeline
that's
of,
cool. That's really
yeah.
cool.
So probably 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when we first started getting together, and then it went down. One person dropped out, and the next person dropped out, and it just ended up being just me and Zach. So we just said, all right, well, let's just do it, me and you then. So I had a Pokemon and eBay experience, and he was selling video games, and he had Magic knowledge. So fuse both of those together, and you got yourself a pretty good, decent game store. A little from the grounds up.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got a little office space. It's like 450 square feet between two rooms, and we just started grinding it out and working, buying, selling, flipping. I was working full time, and then when I got off that job, I would go to that office and sit there for another 8 to 10 hours and list and take pictures and flip and all that.
So to be clear, it
Uh,
wasn't a game store with game space.
no,
It
no, no,
was
no. This was
just an office.
just an office and like a basically it's like a operations
A workspace.
for our eBay store. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
It
Okay.
was
Wow.
something better than just his garage where he was before that.
I was gonna say, and you guys didn't want to run it out of your own house or garage at that point. It wasn't
No,
an
I mean
option, or
we wanted the ability to have people come to us and sell to us if they wanted to. So having like a space that was neutral and not like just your house made it feel at least a little bit more professional.
yes, yes.
Besides the folding tables and the crappy chairs that we were folding chairs that we were sitting in, but it kind of felt legit a little bit.
Right.
And then, like I said, we quickly grew to where we wanted to have an actual store. And like I said, it was 5 years ago, almost to the day that we actually opened up our first actual physical location of a store. It was 750 square feet, almost double the size. So we were doing good.
So that puts it right around the Evolutions release. Right around that point was when you opened your brick and mortar. Then, right? If at that timeline.
Yeah, yeah, yes, it
How
was
did
right
that,
I
how did
remember
that
getting in.
affect it?
Well, it didn't because evolution sucked then and nobody cared.
Really?
Um,
So I wasn't.
yeah,
I was playing Pokemon Go at the time, but I wasn't really fully engaged with the hobby at that point. I was under the impression that Evolutions, right when it hit, was a really big success, and that's why it was overprinted so much.
it
Was
it definitely was popular. It was not, as part from like a regular standard set. Sure, it was more popular, but it quickly got very, very stale, and it was very heavily on nostalgia. So people that were like interested in actually playing the game, there was not a whole lot to it for people that actually wanted to play. It was very much just a collector set, just something for people that very casual collectors. So people that played the game didn't really care. Like, uh, there's nothing but a couple cards in there that were decently playable.
so it's like celebrations. It's like the celebrations effect, essentially.
Sure, yeah, but like I would say way less than that as far as like hype. It was not like it was cool, like it was a cool throwback, but it was not like a huge like boom hype boom to the game at all.
So as someone who's been
Uh,
through multiple of these booms, then would you
yeah,
say that was very much so like a much smaller, like not as felt as prominently by game stores as this last boom?
no, yeah, God, definitely nothing compares to what we had just went through. But yeah, there's definitely like a rise in like the casual person coming up and like wanting to buy packs and stuff like that. Have nostalgia for the old classic stuff in Evolution. So that was definitely a thing. But yeah, as far as like the level of like where it was super hard and difficult to find, you know, months after release, no, it wasn't really a problem.
What was the first set
And
you remember being like that? Was it Hidden Fates?
the first set that sold out instantly and like we couldn't get our hands on.
That you couldn't like order as much as you needed, that people were like constantly hangering for and wanting more of,
Um, Legendary Treasures was difficult because we were kind of catching the tail end of that. I
Hmm.
remember getting just a couple of boxes of that in and it was gone. But after that, it was probably Dragon's Majesty, another specialty set that it was first time that the ETBs were like super, super limited and hard to find.
Mhm.
As beginning a specialty set, so it didn't have booster boxes. It just had those kind of like what we're used to now, where like Hidden Fates and Shiny Fates where you didn't have booster boxes. It was one of the first sets that kind of did that weird model.
Hmm.
So that was like the first set, just because there's no booster boxes. It's just really weird because we're so used to just cracking open a box and having 36 packs magically. So that was just a different feel than we were used to. Um, yeah, like when what Dragon's Majesty and Shining Legends also was another set, specialty set again, that had all the shining like Shiny Mewtwo with the Mewtube and stuff like that. Another set that was where we kind of really felt like the limited factor, and that's what the specialty sets were supposed to do, was kind of promote and protect and have a more collectability side of things that we hadn't really seen up to that point. So that was when that kind of flavor, I guess, of sets kind of really started kicking into high gear. And then Hidden Fate, nothing. When Hidden Fates came out, it was ridiculous. Like the hype was probably as much as anything I'd seen up to that point.
That's what
Of
got me
course,
back into the hobby. Hidden Fates
yeah,
dragged
absolutely,
me kicking and screaming back into the hobby. My girlfriend and I, we
yeah,
literally, we were like, okay, we both collected Pokemon. We had our old cards kind of a little bit, and we liked Pokemon. We played Pokemon Go, but then we saw the shiny Pokemon in Hidden Fates and the beautiful artworks, and we were like, okay, and we got a couple at Target. We walked in and we saw a couple on the shelf. We ended up buying it, not knowing what it was. We opened a
right,
couple.
yeah,
We opened some cool shinies and we were hooked. It was like hook, line, and sinker, like,
yeah. I remember people hyping up Hidden Fates, and I remember seeing like when they started doing the Japanese leaks, and it's just like the golden stadium, whatever the forest was, Viridian Forest, I guess is what it
The
was.
Viridian Forest is so beautiful.
It was like the first
So,
time we'd ever seen that. My mind was blown. I was like, this is insane. This is
like
the greatest looking card I've ever seen.
the artwork is still to this day on that card. I think
Yeah,
that card is one of the most beautiful like trainer cards they've ever made. I agree with that. I pulled it the other day
right.
on the stream and it was beautiful.
Yeah, and I remember seeing my personal favorite modern card is the Bird Trio, the stained glass promo.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that the same thing, scrolling through Poke Beach, and I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be a chase card. And then I later on, when they said it was going to be in every ETB, I was like, oh my, this is insane. Like, what? This is crazy. That
Yeah.
awesome of a card, and everybody gets one, basically, is wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, that set was like the first where it was just like scalping existed for the first time, like in a serious manner, because things are so hard to find and limited. And it felt like things were so stretched out. Like we saw with Generations, how it was like every month we had a pin box or something like that, and some other little products. That kind of set was just like it was so drawn out.
It was
But
just
then by the end of it,
saturated.
we were worn out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with Hidden Fates, it was like little pockets of like 3 or 4 little incidents of releases. I was like, oh my god, this is the next thing, and I need all that I can get. Please give me more. Because it was the same thing where people would be walking in with like sealed product and be like, hey, will you buy this from me? Because I know it's worth more. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. But
I still feel that way about Hidden Fates. 4 years
yeah,
later, 3 years later, I still feel like I want more. I want more of
yeah,
it. So
it is a truly timeless set to open. I think it's just did everything and really established what people expect from a great Pokemon set.
do you think that's
Uh,
the King modern set? Do you think it'll stay the King for a while?
it definitely seems like it has a different level of interest. It's more elite. It feels like an elite set to me, as opposed to just like any other like one of the specialty sets.
Well,
It's just Hidden Fates just has a different flavor to it. It just has a different weight.
like in the future, imagine paying a premium for one pack of cards. Like I imagine
Yeah,
paying like for like one pack of Evolving Skies, for example, or one pack of Hidden Fates from sort of somewhat similar eras, both considered the greatest of their time. Like one pack of Evolving Skies, you have nothing. You have no chance.
right.
Hidden
Yeah,
Fates, you really so like when it comes down to like modern, I oftentimes think about like what's the experience going to be like for someone in the future who's looking to purchase that and maybe pay a higher premium to then re-experience this. And I look at it like, okay, one pack of cards, like in a set, if you were to sell one pack of cards for $100, what's the
right.
feel is going to be like for one pack of cards of Hidden Fates versus something like Champion's Path versus something like Shining Fates versus something like Evolving Skies, Brilliant Stars. So that's sort of where my head goes for like future as far as modern is concerned, because I don't think you can ever equate it to like Wizards of the Coast era, like, oh, it's going to be, super expensive and sought after. One pack will be $300. But maybe $20, $30, $50 slowly creeps up. I often question, like, at what point is there a cap based on like a set like Evolving Skies where you need almost a whole booster box to really feel like you have a chance at getting a hit? Whereas a set like Hidden Fates, it does have one booster pack. Every pack has a chance, it feels like. So
Yeah.
I look at that, and that is maybe why I look at Hidden Fates as one of those king modern sets. Like you said, it feels like it has a premium to it.
Yeah, I mean, at the time when it was released, it was like, this is the greatest set of all time. This is like the pinnacle. Like, what can be even better? Like nothing. We've never seen anything like this before. We've never seen anything have this sort of crazy, like a subset other than like the Radiant Collection and Legendary Treasures didn't exist. Like that was not a thing that you saw in even specialty sets. So to see that and be like, it's all shiny. They're all of good popular Pokemon. It's all like straight bangers of like the evolutions and Charizard and just everything that you'd want. It was truly like, at the time, again, context. You got to remember context. Uh, it was just the dream set, and I think, after it went out of print and people were, and it was still a little fresh, and before the big crazy boom, everything, there's definitely like super demand for that set still, like constant. I think because Pokemon has been so strong, that set has kind of been pushed down, and kind of there's too much modern stuff going on to worry about Hidden Fates. But I think as soon as things do calm down a little bit, people really start to appreciate Hidden Fates a little bit more, and I think it'll finally go back up to and just explode in price, because it is just a unique experience of opening that set.
To be clear, I still buy Hidden Fates to this day, ETBs. To your
Yeah.
point, I think they're still a little bit, I mean, they're way overvalued compared to what they were when they came out, but I still, to this point, I think that Hidden Fates is still a good buy. Not a financial advisor. Throw
No,
that out
right.
there.
I just think that, for it to go from where it was to, I think it was pushing $300 at one point for an ETB,
Mhm.
and then they pushed out that reprint, and it's never gotten up that to even close to that level. But I don't know. It seems like if it can do it once, what's to stop from doing it again, and just in the same amount of time and just as fast?
Yeah, and I think that after that reprint, that was the first time I think people really felt like a modern set like Hidden Fates got an ETB reprint, and so it shattered a lot of that faith in the whole. Because there was like modern always, there was, I feel like people felt like you would see a lot of print of it, but then there were the specialty sets that they thought, okay, after the initial print run of ETBs, the initial print run, you don't get more of that, and then Hidden Fates a couple years later, they did that reprint around January, and it, like you're referencing, it pushed the prices down. I think it really shattered a lot of the I don't want to say confidence, but maybe the confidence that a lot of those specialty set investors or stonkers maybe had in those. And that, I still think some of that fear and uncertainty is sort of rippling through that particular subset of the hobby, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, when Pokemon printed specialty sets, they didn't get reprints. It was the one and done. They moved on to the next thing, because the specialty sets were never the focus. They're supposed to be a little treat sprinkled in to the rest of the standard sets to give you something different, to give collectors an interest, and to keep things going. Whereas standard sets are always pushing the meta stuff, and changing the meta and changing the game. The specialty sets like Hidden Fates, it's supposed to be like a celebration. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be almost like a master set for Magic, where it was recent cards, but the most fanciest and elite versions of them. That's what specialty sets have always been to us. And up to that point, it was like the equivalent to, like, a modern master set, or something for whatever that equivalent would be for Pokemon. Uh, and then obviously Pokemon has gone and just changed our expectations again and again. Uh, Pokemon was so like predictable back then, and then when they reprinted Hidden Fates, is like, okay, this is different. This is not supposed to be a thing. What are they doing? And then they started reprinting other things and going back, and the things like with Roaring Skies again, never was a thing. Ultra Prism, definitely not a thing, especially so close to when it was going out of standard. Like, that's What?
That's the
Doesn't make
argument.
sense.
Yeah, people oftentimes say that they will never go back and reprint a set that's rotating out of standard. But that Ultra Prism reprint that happened, what was it, 2020? Was it 2021 or 2020?
Yeah, the bulk wave of that set of reprint came out after the rotation.
Yeah.
So that set was dead on arrival, but still, they tried. They tried to almost get it in time, but then I guess delayed. Something got mixed up or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's really weird. It's almost like they were kind of flip flop. Well, should we reprint it or should we not? I don't know. Uh, but then yeah, everything after that, like after that, it's all bets are off. There's no guessing what Pokemon's doing. We all try, but like they're doing their own thing.
I do think that they have a pattern that they can follow. That I just don't think they're disclosing that to anyone, right? And it's just like it seems like it's ever, but
Sure.
I think that we I think that 2020, and this is going to be obvious, just obvious town. I think 2020 was an anomaly, right? And I think it threw a wrench in a lot of the world's plans. And so I think they're still sort of getting past that, but I do think we'll go back to a little more normalcy as far as like the print schedule and things. And I think eventually you and I will be able to have a conversation about, yeah, well, I think we'll be able to put our allocations in and get what we want, and then that'll be the print run, and that'll be it. I'm hopeful for that actually, because I don't like the wave system. I don't like the way that distribution has gotten lately. And this, for a lot of people watching, this isn't going to be necessarily pertaining, but for Mason and I, we both deal through distribution. We buy through distribution. And
Yeah.
so since I've started buying through distribution, in the very, very beginning, I got in right around Darkness Ablaze. I was able to
Okay.
buy pretty much as I wanted, but it was right at the very end of it. It very quickly changed, and that changed very rapidly through the course of the last couple of years. And I don't particularly like how that has changed. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know you've talked a lot on your channel about it, but I don't know if I've actually really directly asked you like how you particularly feel about it. Because we really, our thoughts about it don't matter as much. We just deal with it. But if you could choose one way or the other, do you like the way that it is now with the waves, or would you wish that it could go back to, you put your order in, that's what you get, and then you move on to the next set?
Yeah. There are good and bad things, especially from my position. I was talking to, I did another live a couple days ago where I was talking about this as well. And the hobby distribution, just the whole way it worked, was very stagnant and the way things were for decades. Like since Pokemon was released, the way that distribution worked was the same. Like nothing had changed. Magic did the same thing. Yu-Gi-Oh did the same thing. All the card games did the same thing, and it was very predictable. And how you ordered was the same way across the board all the time. Then Pokemon had to come along and screw it all up and get super popular and get to where my distribution channels were getting bids put in for more product, saying I will pay more for this if you give me more. What is he paying? I'm going to pay you more. Give me a pallet. Whatever your price is for a pallet, scratch it out, put the normal price or whatever. Like that's the type of like craziness that was seen from a store level, and the pressure that put on distribution broke the old system. Like it didn't work anymore. Like the way of saying, okay, you spend the most money and you're the biggest, my biggest account, you get 80% of everything I have. Like that's insane. Like that's obviously that's not how distribution, if you're Pokemon and from that angle, that's not how you want the thing to go down, because it puts a lot of authority into those big figures, like the Troll and Toads of the world I'm talking about.
You want your
It puts a
product
lot
out to
of
as many stores as you can if you're Pokemon. You want as many people to get it as possible for as cheap as
correct.
possible. That's your goal as Pokemon. Yeah. Because you want your product out there.
Yes. The prices that stores pay, that the consumer pays, all that doesn't matter to Pokemon because they get the same amount of money regardless.
Yes. That's something
They want to see it
yeah.
Most accessible as possible.
Yes.
To get in the most people's hands so that they continue to buy it and continue to be hype and collect and get keep the hobby going and growing.
So that's
what they want to
always
do.
Pokemon's agenda. That's what people really should always remember is Pokemon's agenda is always to get their product to the most amount of people as possible so that the most people can actually enjoy their product. And that shouldn't
Correct.
be a surprise to anyone. So yeah.
Correct. That is Pokemon's only stance. They only care about getting the product out there and in the most hands and being the most accessible as possible.
Yeah. So as far as the
That's
secondary market is concerned, and as far as how the wave system and how their distribution model affects the secondary market, Pokemon really doesn't care. But they do
correct.
sort of care, I would argue, just a little bit, because they want to see the health of their game continue to get stronger and healthier. And that was why I would say that they still do, some reprints. I think I personally have said many times, and I think you probably might agree with this, that I think Pokemon, even more so than some other TCGs, kind of put their hand on the pulse of what their consumers really are looking for. And we saw that with Hidden Fates. They started doing more of the shiny subsets and things. After that, they saw it succeeded. So I do think that they are a little bit receptive to like what's happening. Maybe they don't care about what's happening, but they at least are watching a little bit. So that would be
Sure.
maybe a counter argument to be made, right?
Yeah, and I was kind of alluding to this a little bit earlier, but to put all this product in a few hands, and you kind of saw it at the very, very beginning with like Champion's Path and Viv Voltage, where all this product was going to the same people, so that only a handful of stores, big stores, controlled everything about the market. They dictated prices, how fast it sold, the amount of product that was available on the secondary market and to the end consumers, because it didn't exist in Walmarts and Targets. I always talk about Viv Voltage. The second week it was released was gone.
Yeah.
The entire print run that was supposed to last, assumedly 2 years worth of product was gone in 2 weeks.
So my distributor, I've went out and said, is one of the suppliers for Amazon. I'm one of his small accounts, but his big account is Amazon. I'm fortunate enough to be able to be close enough to be able to pick up my supplies in person when I go pick it up. And so I saw the weekend of Vivid Voltage, all of what Amazon got, and I saw what his small game stores got, and Amazon got a warehouse full of ETBs of everything,
Yes.
and LGS is I got 3 cases. I got 3 cases of booster boxes, and others got a similar numbers. So
right, and it always worked where we had the initial push on release. Everybody's got some or hit their numbers that they wanted, and then whatever was left over was kind of up for grabs. That's always how it used to work. Vivid Voltage, there was nothing to give out after that.
No.
So everybody that got taken care of, like they normally do, was sitting all this product, or was selling it faster than they could probably ship it out, and there's nothing left. So then we're all looking around. The second week of Viv Voltage, me like, what are we gonna do now? Like what?
It was a competitive set.
What do we do?
It was good. It was a good set. It was competitive.
Oh yeah, amazing rares, and everybody was chasing amazing rares and ripping packs, and it was very open, just like Brilliant Stars is. People wanted to open that set for all the stuff that was in it. And I have videos on my channel where I say, look guys, this is Viv, it's pre-release. These are pre-release prices for this stuff. Don't pay $300 for this chunky Pikachu. It'll be $50 in a month. Don't worry about it. Because that's the way it had always been, and that's how it would dictate that how things should go. It didn't go that way.
No.
So then they said, okay,
I just recently started seeing that Pikachu and PSA 10 start falling below the 700 mark.
Yeah,
incredible.
So that's when they went, okay, yeah, we got to change how this works. And yes, if you are low on the chain, waves do suck, because at the most hype amount of time, when you're ready to move stuff and you want as much product as you can because you can flip it real quick, you don't get any.
Nope.
Because you only get like 50-50, or they'll do 50, 25, 25 if there's 3 waves, something like that. So yeah, if you're a small guy, you get screwed because But for stores that are, I'm middle range, or I'm not like crazy big, but I definitely move hundreds of boxes of a set, on release, and I buy that much. So, it's okay for me because it actually extends the life of the set and that hype period out more, because if there's not a big flood onto the market, the price stays pretty high. And that's why we're seeing with sets like we saw it with Chilling Rain a little bit, and then we definitely saw it with Evolving Skies,
Big time with
where
Evolving Skies, yeah.
and we saw it with Brilliant Stars as well,
Yeah.
even before on Evolving Skies, where at release the price actually started going up because the supply. We all learned that there's no supply out there. You're looking on TCG Play and there's 50 boxes available on release.
Are
Like
you
that,
part of
that is
Rudy's Patreon?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Did you read his most recent post he said about Evolving Skies?
I did. I am not wholly convinced about. I'm not convinced anybody knows anything
Let's
about Pokemon or what they're doing.
disclose to those who are not patrons of the floppy taco slinger, Rudy
Sure.
himself.
Yeah.
In his quarterly like Patreon that he puts out every once in a while, he recently in his Pokemon section had a little paragraph that said
It was like the very end of the entire note. Even it was like the very last thing.
he didn't have a closing or anything. It was just this. It just said Evolving Skies Pokemon. He said one distributor has given me information that Evolving Skies is out of print and will not be getting a reprint further. And he says, and if this is the case, expect Evolving Skies booster boxes to start pushing $250. I audibly laughed out loud when I read that, and when I was sitting at the table reading that, I audibly laughed like IRL.
I sincerely doubt that Pokemon is going to let that happen. They can't. They literally can't.
Thank you.
There's a couple reasons, and I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to use my logic that sometimes is incorrect, but Pokemon tends to do the most logical thing. So let's just put that out there for most people that where this is coming from. Evolving Skies was our fall set last year, correct? Am I wrong?
Yeah, October. Yeah.
October. October set is the last set, or the first set, I'm sorry, after rotation happens. So Evolving Skies has 2 more years of standard play legal left. There is no way that Pokemon is going to let a standard legal set exist for 2 years and have it be $300 box or $200, even $200. Let's say they're just not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
There's no way. There's no way. Literally no way. Yeah.
And there's not. Everybody knows. Like they see what's happening with Eevee Heroes in Japan. Still super expensive set. Still being bought and sold out all the time. They know it's a hot set. Everybody knows it's a hot set. It's going to be open for the end of our days, and people are going to love it because of the Eevees in it. They will reprint the set. They have to. Because they want to make money. Like there's again, the secondary market prices do nothing for Pokemon. They don't make money off that. It doesn't matter. So if there's people willing to pay $300 for these boxes, they'll definitely reprint it because Pokemon wants to make money.
And why wouldn't they, right? Like what is the rationale for, like, if someone was to provide an argument as to why they wouldn't? I mean, what would that even be? So
there wouldn't be, because
the printers are shut down. There's not enough printer space. They just opened up a new printing facility. So
yeah. With Celebrations, it does make sense because the 25th anniversary, it does make sense to sell the 25th anniversary and the 27th year. Yeah, I get that. Okay, sure. Or whatever.
I don't agree with that particular
okay.
That statement they put out, but
we can go there. Yeah.
Well, it's not that I disagree. It's just that I think that it was a misleading statement by them. I think they may not print more, but I think we're going to see it continuing to get restocked. That's all. That's just a statement that I think needs to be clarified. That's all.
Yes, absolutely. Is Pokemon sitting on tons of Celebrations? Absolutely, yes.
Guaranteed.
They are sitting on tons of this product.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to cuss. I don't know if that.
No, it's yeah, no, I don't.
All right, good deal. Okay, cool. But yeah, they're not going to let, like, Pokemon, again, as we go forward, and we're all learning as this goes on, and how things are going from here on out. Again, the wave system is probably here to stay. I can't imagine that they would get rid of that just because we can all of a sudden have a bunch of product, especially when you can put things in a wave system that allow you to reprint and allow you to put off the bulk of printing a little bit if you have to get these other sets in to replenish the supplies. That's what the wave system is for, is to catch up and to allow you to put things into a print facility. And these printers are fast. Trust me, they print millions of cards at, very, very quickly. It takes no time at all. So we will get reprints of all the things that are going to be in standard for the next year. I don't doubt that. Vivid Voltage might be the cutoff for
Because
things
Battle
being
Styles
reprinted.
is the cutoff for rotation, right? Because I don't think Vivid is in this most current rotation.
What is after Battle Styles? Chilling Rain, right?
Yeah, so it's Battle Styles, then Chilling Rain. Vivid Voltage was
Chilling
right
Rain.
before.
Yes, Chilling Rain was the summer set, so it should be the next thing. If a rotation happens again, this is next year's rotation. This is not this year's rotation.
Right, the next
This year's
rotation.
yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time for them to be printing stuff. They're not gonna let this stuff go out.
Yeah. So why do you think Rudy went out and said that? Do you think he legitimately just doesn't necessarily know? Do you think he's trying to push a position on Evolving Skies?
I think that just is trying to tell us that there's not any coming anytime soon. So that, if you want to do some little short gains or make some plays, if you're sitting on some, that there may be more profitable times ahead. That's basically what I interpreted that as. Not that, oh my God, this is going to the moon, put it in the attic and forget about it because it's going to be a $500 box in 2 years. That I don't think is going to ever happen. But
I think that's what that's like the vibe I got from his statement. It was really,
but that's the way he phrases stuff. Like that's just like he speaks in like absolutes a lot.
He does.
And like it says and like hyperbole and like he's very like that's his game. That's his whole mantra. His whole persona is like extreme. So I wouldn't worry about.
I thought that was a funny statement. I'm glad we went there because I totally forgot about that whole statement. I'm glad you saw that as well.
Yes.
So yeah, we can get into the next question here. That was actually a really good little aside though.
Yeah, we hit the market a little bit. We talked a little bit.
Yeah. We weren't necessarily intending on it, but we did. We can't help ourselves. We can't help ourselves.
Obviously, yes.
So the next question though, going in here, this will be a good one. I already know this. My question is usually I ask if this is a full-time job for you, but we already know that's a full-time for you. But even so, since this is sort of a business for you, it's full-time. How much of your day would you say goes into like your thinking about your business or doing your business? Do you find it easy to sort of separate that time, that family life time, or do you sort of find yourself like a lot of other businesses just sort of working at all times and sort of finding that time where you can? So how do you what would you say your time looks like these days as according to like Pokemon and YouTube and that type of situation?
Like how much percentage of my day is spent thinking about Pokemon and the store?
Like how much,
or just the store in general?
Yeah, in general.
100%.
So there's never a time where you're like watching the Lord of the Rings or something. You're like, oh man, I'm not thinking about Pokemon at all. It's always you're watching Lord of the Rings and you're on your phone looking at the Pokemon sold listings and
or how the store's doing, or what just sold, or something like yes.
YouTube analytics, checking out how the latest video is doing, that kind of thing. I know I'm likewise,
yeah. When you have a business in this field, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because you care and you're interested, and this is like what you want to be doing with your time.
Well, no, hold on, Mason. You're telling me that's not a green screen back there, and you're not just hiding the Mona Lisa, the one-of-one Mona Lisa,
or my giant cash vault behind me?
Gazillionaire?
Correct.
You're not a gazillionaire. Yeah. You're in Pokemon, man. You own a local game store. You were like the Pokemon. I read last year in Forbes. I read that Pokemon was going to the moon. Like, so you got to be like the
on
head
it.
astronaut,
I'm
right?
on the moon. Yeah, I'm the head. I'm the head astronaut. That's a good line. I like that. That's a good No, I am not the head astronaut, whatever that means. I like it though. I like the sound of it, but no,
Yeah, but I think it's
I'm not the grill master of the $7 hot dogs. No.
right. So, but there was a perspective to a certain degree that that people who own local game stores or people who sold Pokemon were like scalping it to all ends and making a ton of money and leaving all of the smaller people in the dust who just wanted to enjoy the hobby. Like, do you think that I don't see that narrative happening as much anymore now that the hobby's cooled off? But did you see a lot of that narrative being a local game store, or like did you hear a lot of that hate?
Did you watch my channel the past year?
Yeah, well, okay.
I got destroyed. Like,
I just
yes,
wanted to hear you say it yourself. Yes, and I think it's such an interesting concept to me, how that sort of narrative can change over time. But yeah, it's funny. But like Pokemon, I think is not like you said. It's that nobody who does Pokemon does it to get rich. Like people who usually do these types of things, it feels like, at least I can say from my experience, it feels like they do it because they like it a little bit. They kind of
yes.
like it. There's a little bit of a passion.
If I liked Pokemon and I liked money, opening a LGS is not the way to get and join those two things together.
No, no.
I could have very easily stayed doing what I was doing originally and buying and selling collections. Of course, so many people now have had their third eye awoken to grading cards. Oh my God. And these have a premium value. So that if I had been smart, that entire Neo first edition sets that I had that were in pristine condition in these 4-pocket binders that I sold for next to nothing compared to what they are today.
A couple
If I had been
$100
smart,
probably.
I would have shipped all those. I bought them for $80 a set.
Right.
The entire first edition sets
Yeah.
of Neo
Yeah.
for $80 a set.
Mm-hmm. People didn't know what Neo was back then. They're like, Neo? What do you have base set? Like, don't you have the base
What's the
set?
set that has the Shining Charizard in it of the Neo? I don't remember. It's
The
one of the Destiny, I believe. Okay.
Destiny, yeah.
That entire set, I sold the entire set again, beautiful condition, on eBay for $680. The entire set.
Yeah, one of those shinies today, like one of the lower ones in good condition, would probably go for that.
Yes.
One of them, yeah.
And even at the time, the first edition Shining Charizard was like $350 of that. But again, perspective, added a couple more zeros, that kind of thing. But if I was smart, but nobody graded Pokemon cards. Nobody grades. That's not a thing that people do. That's an elitist hobbies. Nobody can. Why would you want to buy that stuff? They don't fit in binder sleeves. What?
You can't.
How am I supposed to appreciate them?
Card. You can't sell it to a player. Like, how are you going to sell it to a player?
Yeah. Who would want to pay the premium when you can have these in, the Ultra Pro gross sleeves and put them in a binder? No. But yeah, this is not owning a store and even having access to distribution. It's not how you get rich. Not consistently. You can't predict when things are going to be super hot.
I'm trying to think of the top collectors in the hobby and how many of them are like local game stores and what their real hobbies are versus like the collect. So yeah, that's
right. Find me the SM Pratt of sealed Pokemon product, of sealed modern product. Like, it doesn't exist because all those people are smart and are in the trophies and the grading and all that stuff. This is down here. We were slumming it. Like, let's be real. I don't care about sealed product. And I made a Card Job Candid about this, where a booster box is like a commodity to me. It's like lumber. It's like construction materials. I want that stuff to pass through you so I can get the finished product, the card, back out of it, and goes to me so I can resell that. The boxes do nothing for me because traditionally there is no money to be made there. I buy these things for $82. I sell them for $95. There's no money there in a traditional market sense when everything's flatline normal. Just because now that I can make $40 or $50 a box, I have to put out $82 to make $40. So I'm only getting like a third percent,
And you can
return
only do it
on this
X
item.
amount of times. You can no longer do it
Yeah,
an unlimited amount of time. You can only do it X amount of
correct.
times. Yeah.
Right. It's like when they restock the crab legs at the buffet. I'm eating now because I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't want to get the
Otherwise, you gotta wait
leftovers.
it's restock, and then who knows that's when that's gonna be. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So I want the fresh stuff, and I want to move through it as fast as possible,
Yeah.
so I can move on. And that's the whole mentality, and that's the way game stores have always run.
And so
Because I have to get off this current product so I can have the money to pay for the next set.
so
Like I
so
have to get to there first.
that's a good
And
point because Rudy talks about that on his channel about
yeah,
how he'll try to do that. And that does lead the question, or it leads me to ask the question of like at a certain point, do you take a case or two and when you feel like that set that's going to be the last restock of that set, you ever take a case or two and throw it in your closet or in your garage or wherever you store it, and or are you more of like you're moving it all and you're moving on to the next, you really don't care about those and you're not making those flicks? I'm curious if you hold those sealed
um,
anything.
yeah, we used to do that. Um, we were throwing back like Hidden Fates tins and stuff like that, and every Magic set we'd have 2 cases of, and it got to the point where it's just like, for it to be averaging out across the board, if something does go crazy and like go up like 20 to 50% where it was, if you go about across the average, it's not doing a damn thing. Like
It
I
needs to
can't
double.
I
It needs
can't
to more
save
than
every
double,
product
really.
and then it goes down and it
Yeah.
doesn't come up. For every for every brilliant stars out there, there's a, oh god, what's the
A battle
throw
style.
shit, any Magic set out there, there's a Crimson Vow
Yeah.
or something, where it's a set that it will never recover to that point. It may take years for Crimson Vow to get back to where
The
a
release
Brilliant
date.
Stars would be currently.
Yeah.
So when you're down here and then you have a product up here, you kind of in the middle, and they're just like, okay, this is not worthless because it's just trapped money at this point. There's nothing. I'd rather have that capital and go out and buy and put it into something that's hot and new and fresh and keep it going that way. So we were putting things away, but now again, I can use that cash 10 times over before it makes many amount of money that's worth it. So that's the logic and why we don't sit on things, because I got enough money trapped in battle styles ETBs right now. Like when you start getting into that territory where you have again those loser products that you have to sit on and still sitting on, I have 250 of them. If anybody wants some battle styles ETBs, I'm your guy. Holla at your boy. But for every brilliant stars, there's battle styles, and I will be sitting on those ETBs for God, who knows how long, until they eventually do catch up or appreciate, where you can't find them anymore. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while because I see everybody else sitting on them too. So, yeah, last November did a lot of game stores dirty, and a lot of game stores still now are hurting. Thank God for battle styles, or sorry, for brilliant stars, and it doing what it did, or else a lot of these game stores would be really hurt in the Pokemon department. Like I
Yeah.
still I still
So
have hundreds of chilling boxes. I still have 100 of Fusion Strike. I still have, again, 250 battle styles and 80 battle styles booster boxes. Like I am sitting on all this third wave of product that I was supposed to get again when it was hot, and then
you're
I
not
just
alone
got,
either. You're not alone because
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
the bundles, the $11,000 bundles, are
Yeah,
reaching that 30-day mark right now for those invoices. And if you're
yeah,
noticing price trends, Fusion Strike is seeing some serious price pressure, downward pressure. And I have a feeling, and that was the bulk of what those $11,000 distribution bundles were, was Fusion Strike.
yeah.
I think that we're going to start seeing some of the bottoms of Fusion Strike in the next week to 2 weeks right here. That would be my prediction for that particular set because of the timing and tax time, tax periods, it's just
Sure.
timing and everything, macroeconomics, all that.
Yeah. And it's a shame because Fusion Strike is an awesome set. I really like the set, and I think it has a lot of good stuff going for it. But yeah, it's gonna take years for that set to do anything worth a damn. So if you're sitting on a lot of it, you're gonna be sitting for a while.
So how many of those
Because
EV boxes were you able, if you're comfortable disclosing how many EV boxes you're able to order from your distribution? I'm curious as to what you got according to what I got.
the big like the
The
what are they called?
VMAX, the
With
premium
the alt
boxes,
the
these
super
things,
alt arts
these
thingies.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. I can check real quick. I can check my system.
I was surprised at how much I got, and I got another wave of them. But the situation with mine was different than most people's. I think you and most other LGSs got them right on release. My distribution got our whole pallet was lost in the mail for like a month, and
What?
so we didn't think we were going to get them. And then when they finally showed up, we got a little bit more than we were expecting. So I got 6 cases of them, which was a significant amount. I was expecting like 1 or 2 cases.
So 36 because there was six in a case,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So 36. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see what I got.
And I'm
I
a small
sold.
game store, so I'm small. So my allocation numbers usually, when I get a new set comes out, I get between 3 and 5 booster boxes or booster cases, if I'm lucky, and then two ETB cases, a case or two of the auxiliary product of each of the smaller products, maybe, and then if there's leftovers of things, then I can order a little bit more typically.
All right. According to my system, I sold 27 of the Vaporeon boxes. So multiply that by 3.
Yeah.
It's
Okay. So you got a
81-ish.
you got
So
a large
not
amount
a
of them too. A
yeah.
pretty healthy number.
That was not particularly great.
Well,
For a
okay.
box like that, I would probably get 120 probably would be my normal number of a product like that.
I
So,
got the same amount of ultra premium collections as I got, but I had to pay a higher premium for ultra premium collections, so that might have
yeah,
affected that. So that was maybe a little
that's a
bit.
good question. Let me see how many ultra premiums I went through.
Because I went through about 6 cases of ultra premium cases. I have 1 case in reserve and then an open case that I've been drawing out of for like prize pools and things. But I got 6 total, and I paid an exorbitantly higher price to get such a larger allocation of them.
Oh, I did too. I mean, I bought some too. I had to buy some secondary stuff on it.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think a lot of people realize about game stores. They think that you're always getting wholesale, which it is most of the time. You do get wholesale, but there are times on products like that you do still roll the dice. We pay a little higher, and that leads to some higher prices too. So
yeah, on release, again, distribution favors people that have organized play through them, and then obviously the amount of sales that they have through them as well. So when you get your initial allocation, it's based off of those types of metrics. And then again, this is going back to the old world of things. If there's only like a 1 release of the type of item, whatever is left over from meeting the allocation demands, even if they were shorted, matching all those numbers up, they have what's called a slush at the end of it. That seems to be the term that I've heard it from multiple distributions. So that must be just the word for it. And that they can do with whatever they want. So that's the type of the slush is what gets sold at basically a higher price, or however much somebody's willing to pay for them. So there is one distribution company in particular that tends to put aside a set amount just to have slush left over to sell at a higher thing.
And bless them, bless their hearts.
But I mean, it's hard to blame them, but I've also seen them get burned on it a lot of times.
Yeah, so that's the same argument to be made for scalpers. I heard in Jake and the live with Jake with Charlie and Zach, they were talking about how scalpers get a lot of heat, but they really
Can we just say, I'm sorry, can I just interrupt and say that was like the greatest live in probably like the past 6 months.
It was probably the best live I've seen in a good year on YouTube, according to Pokemon,
Yes.
All
absolutely.
the other crazy stuff other aside. But
I just want to say that, but
no,
I'm sorry.
But
I totally probably ruined your train of thought, but go ahead.
No. So I think it was Charlie who was saying that the scalpers in the hobby, the people who'd go and then buy and then resell and take on that risk and overexpose themselves to objects and then really put them out there to the public, they have a place in the hobby too. And now people hearing this are going to be like, take it the totally wrong way in the comment section and be like, yo, caught him, clip it right there. He just said, scalpers have a place in the hobby. That's it. It's done. We got the old card shop. But no, but like I hear what he's saying with that. And it's like, there's a reason why scalpers exist, and it's not that they're providing some sort of like a value for the customer, but to a certain extent they are providing a level of a service to people who don't. Maybe the argument will be made that scalpers are taking that product off of the shelf, so then the customer then can't buy it for themselves if they'd like to. But to a certain extent they're raising awareness, to a certain extent they're advertising the product, and to a certain extent they're taking the bag or the risk of said product. They're moving it and getting it out to other products. So I think Charlie, I don't know where how he was really making the argument, but it was something of the sort that like scalpers had a place in the hobby too. And while it may not be a very like a lofty place that people are going to aspire to, or it's not going to be something looked up to, but it's a place that I think if they weren't there, there would be sort of a gap, or there'd be something missing in the hobby, you know. So I think scalping to a certain extent with collectibles or reselling, because scalping, let's be honest, is just a really abrasive word for reselling. I mean, to a certain extent, there is a difference between reselling and scalping. Scalping, I think, is traditionally referred to with like, I mean, like concert tickets. It's used for like limited release things. Whereas reselling, you could probably resell anything. It doesn't have to be a limited release to be resold. But like the concept of scalping is really just the concept of buying something low and selling it high. So like, I mean,
Yeah.
where would you say the place for the scalper is in the hobby? Or do you think there's no place for the scalper? And you're like, I want to be on record and say scalpers are bad always, and I don't think there's no place for them, and get out of the hobby and stay out. But I think that there's a little bit more of an abrasiveness towards that word that I think the hobby is sort of jumped towards. It's fun to just sort of point the finger and say it's a scalper's fault. But to a certain extent, I think there's some responsibility to be had for like hype, demand, and the market, and Pokemon, you know, the Pokemon company not printing the right amount, or maybe not reading demand enough some to certain extents.
Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's zoom out even from Pokemon and just look at Magic. People that are primarily Pokemon probably don't know. Hasbro and Wizard of the Coast basically, this is probably going on 2-3 years ago now, eliminated MSRP for their products. There is no set price that a booster box or set booster or draft booster or a bundle or whatever X Magic set, whatever the product is, there is no set MSRP. This is what people should buy it at or should expect to see it for. It's not there. It's there, but it's not there.
Well, and to be clear, there's no way to go onto the Wizards website and go directly and buy a booster box from Wizards of the Coast, like there is from the Pokemon
Correct.
company. So there is a little bit of a differentiation just for those listening to kind of separate a little bit there.
Correct. And Wizards of the Coast themselves, up until very recently, didn't sell on Amazon, but now they do sell direct through Amazon. And they sell it for whatever they can sell it for. Like, there's not just like, okay, this is a very limited product, but we have an MSRP. We have to keep it at a certain price because people expect that. They, at the time, looked like idiots. But after this now, they're pretty smart. They're smart because the reason why scalping exists and why they're able to exist is because that artificial floor of price that is basically a product is being pumped out at. I'm sorry, an artificial ceiling. Artificial ceiling. It can't be sold above this because that's the most competitive place is whatever the floor, the lowest ceiling. Lowest ceiling? People get what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
There's a trickle of supply at a certain price.
So it makes no sense to go above a certain price because the demand there's more at that price.
The demand is willing to pay more. But so long as there's a price that is being artificially throttled, scalping exists. That's that gap is what causes scalping to exist. If that gap is too wide, yes, people are going to take advantage of that and start flipping and scalping these products. Yes. If same thing with tickets. If particularly whatever the venue is, if it only has a certain amount of seats, you can't have unlimited seats. But this seat is worth this much, and they've sold them all at that price up to them now. Why would they raise the price? That'd be silly. They have to sell it at all across the board level. So, of course, people are going to go and buy the rest of the seats up and then flip them. That's the why these things happen. The artificial ceiling of MSRP and what you should expect to pay for something is what causes scalping. So when people say, I'm willing to pay 3 times that, that's a good price. That's why scalping exists. So Magic doesn't have these issues because even when a hot set comes out, like Time Spiral Remastered was a great set that was underprinted and was trickled out and had basically like it was, it was printed in the COVID times, so it had kind of just a slow release and slow distribution across the country. LGSs sold all their stuff at whatever they could sell it at, very good prices. But then Wizards of the Coast put out their stuff on Amazon for amount, and again, that kind of set the price of a expectation, because that's what the cheapest you can find it.
The same thing with Modern Horizons 2 for anyone who's a Magic.
Sure. Yeah. Because that was after they got rid of that too. So yeah.
Same situation.
So this is allowing the companies themselves to make all that money that would just go to a scalper. And from a business sense, that is the perfect solution. Is just to say, this is going to sell for whatever people want to pay for it. And if it doesn't sell at that price, it's going to go down. That's just the way it's naturally the supply and demand.
So would you rather the company be getting that money than these secondary artificial scalpers that exist now in like the hype beasts, the Supreme, the folks who are in your Facebook groups and buying all the Shining Fates ETBs and immediately trying to flip them for $20 extra each? Do you think would you rather they get that share of the market? Or do you think it's better if the company gets it?
Are you actually asking me, or is that rhetorical?
No, I'm asking you. Do you think it's better if they get it or the company?
Yeah, I mean, make that money, Pokemon. Like, what do you like? Why would I want somebody else that has nothing to do with it and just happen to get lucky, or I want to sit on it to profit off of somebody else's IP? It's just it doesn't make sense to me.
That's absolutely valid. I think there could be somewhat of an argument being made for the secondary market, potentially, for the flipper, the scalper, potentially being able to bring more of a hype or a demand to a product than maybe the Pokemon company, who's sort of a little more zoomed out, could. But I think that you're probably right. I would sort of agree with that. And I think that's the trend we're going to see, is we're going to see these companies, where they can, probably start to capture some of that gap of money or lost revenue that they're seeing that they can't necessarily interact with because it's secondary market on these other avenues like Amazon or these other sort of sales avenues that we're seeing Wizards of the Coast particularly capitalize on.
PokemonCenter.com.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Pokemon could, if they didn't have an MSRP and they didn't have it on their sheets, they could go on PokemonCenter.com and make it and sell whatever they wanted to for whatever price, because they have that MSRP. It's for the company to put out a price that they say is expected. Manufacturer, they're the manufacturer. If they sell for more than that, that is morally objectable as well, almost as much as a scalper doing it. But that's just the way it is.
And I could see a world where MSRP is done away with Pokemon. I could see that happening being even as soon as tomorrow, that being announced.
Sure.
I could see a world where that happens, but currently we're not in that world, thankfully. So we still have a little bit of law in this lawlessness, it seems like, for sure.
Right, and I mean that's in a collectible market. MSRP makes less sense, and makes less sense of, especially when something is scarce, or in times where it can quickly become scarce. It's unfair to the consumer to put out an expectation to be able to find something for a certain price and then they're not able to. I think that is a negative experience when people see nothing on the shelves and then go on eBay and they have to see, this is supposed to be a $50 product. Why is it for 150?
That is discouraging.
That looks bad to Pokemon as well.
Yeah, that's discouraging.
So look at it from that way as well. the blame is equally on Pokemon for putting that expectation to consumers.
Right, and I think that's sort of where I was a little bit alluding to, with like the blame being shifted a little bit more to the Pokemon Company in some regard with some of these prices and like distribution problems. Because I mean, let's be real, they could have seen the writing on the wall as far as like demand is concerned,
Well,
probably.
and I think they did. I think the Ultra Premium Collection is evidence of that. But even they saw, in a market that, okay, whatever price Pokemon's putting out at, double it. Like, that's what it's going to go for.
Yeah, and the Ultra Premium, you're right, is a perfect example of that increase that like, they were listening to what we needed. They were like, okay, how many do we need to print? I think they did supply the market with pretty much what they needed for the Ultra Premiums. Like, do you think they could have gotten a little more, or do you think that they printed enough?
No, we could have got 3 times the amount, and it probably would have been just fine.
I'm going to go ahead and say I somewhat disagree with that. I think that they printed a lot, and I think that they throttled it back just enough that not everyone got one, but a lot of the people who really wanted one did, and it'll hold maybe that value. Now, I know they don't care about the secondary value or anything, but I think they printed a ton of those things, like just a ton of them.
Do you think the price is artificially high?
No, I think the price is as high as it is because the value of what's inside the box currently. I'm not saying that the value, I think the cards are made of cardboard and metal, so they're worth the manufacturing and how much it costs. I've been on record saying this. I think that all of these things, cardboard and otherwise, are really worthless when it comes down to it. It's all intrinsic value we associate to it as collectors, as purchasers, as people who interact with it, players, investors, flippers, whatever it is, hype beasts. It's all associated at the time. I think I don't see a card as being like intrinsically valuable per se. I do see a playing card, like a Pokemon card, as being a little bit more intrinsically valuable than like, say, a sports card, which only to me has like a value to look at. But then someone who likes art or who likes sports might say otherwise. So at the same time, at the end of the day, I say it's all just cardboard. But I do believe that the price point on the UPCs are not artificially pushed up. I think they're pushed up based on like calculations people make in their head when looking at the contents of what's inside the box. So like there's 17 celebrations packs. So 17 celebrations packs, then how many, like 8 or 9 other booster packs? You get those 2 pins, the 2 cool pins. You get like the box itself, which is really a nice big premium box. The 2 gold Charizards, or the gold Charizard and the gold Pikachu, and then of course the other 2 promos, the Pikachu and the Pokeball promo. The actual code card itself has some value to it for excuse me, online. So I think like looking at the value of that box, it looks like it's $150 of like kind of like value of like Pokemon product, just looking at the other products surrounding it and everything. And that's not accounting for like the secondary market of those gold cards, really, which I think you account for a little bit of that, and maybe it pushes it to about that $200 potential, $175, $200 mark.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't help but think that because people think it is, again, it's like if you sell something as a collectible, that people are going to put more value than they probably should on such an item. If something is touted to be like it's the product for the set, or the product that you want to have, or for like a collector's edition for a video game, is that statue really worth the $150 extra that it costs when it was realistically made for like $25? Are we deeming that because it's limited and it's especially special and it's supposed to be a collector? Again, it's subjective.
And that's where I do agree with that. I go back at the end of the day and I say all this stuff is just like cardboard and worthless. And at the end of the day, I don't sell toilet paper, I don't sell food, I don't sell needs. These are things that in certain regards are very risky. I personally don't find them to be risky because I've been interacting with them since I was 8 years old, and I'm 30 something now, and I can see myself continuing to interact with them for another 30 years. So I don't view them to be risky, but at the end of the day, they are risky because it is just cardboard. So I mean, aside from that aspect, I I think that the limited collectibles, the things that are the artificial scarcity, while I'm not a big artificial scarcity fan, um, I don't think the UPC has artificial scarcity. I think it
Okay.
is. I don't think that's a product that artificial scarcity is exactly what I would use to describe it. I would think that it was just demand was so high for it that like it wasn't able to really meet the demand to the point where, but then again, if it didn't meet the demand, I think that thing would be $500. So like I don't know how many they would have had to print for it to continue to stay at $139.99 retail. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
the real question I guess I'm asking, that I would want to ask back, is like how many would they have had to print? And if they printed that many, would it have just straight up ruined it? So like, because there is a world where it could have been $140. It stayed there and it tanked even. But like, is that a world that Pokemon wants to live in, or that the collectors want to live in, or that is it even a world that could exist in COVID times because of printing capabilities?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking up and seeing what it was doing on TCG Player, like how many sold per day.
What's it
The
at right
greatest
now?
the greatest feature they ever put on TCG Player was this latest sales tracker for the
I
sales history.
love it. Yeah, you put
You have
out
to.
a video
It's
saying it
essential.
the day that it came out, and then I noticed it that day too, and I remember just loving that. So it's the
Yeah.
best thing. Yeah.
So in the past 3 days, 15 had sold on TCG Player, which is not a huge amount, but
What
it
price
was
point? Like what
it's
type of price point?
it's 350 on
Wow,
TCG
wow.
Player.
350?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 275 pushing 300.
Yeah, we can go to eBay and see.
So I think I've been seeing them in auctions and closer to that 300 mark, like 275, 300 is where, and then after tax and shipping, probably that 350 mark, I'd imagine. That's insane to me.
The search on eBay for Ultra Premium Collection is over 1,000 listings. So just throwing that out there.
There's a lot of them. Yeah. And everyone wants to sell it to make that quick flip.
Is it quick? It's been out for like 8 months now, or six
That's
months
true.
now.
And I guess they're not really finding themselves out in the wild anymore. So it's not really something that's really being found anymore on the
Let's see. It's doing 310, 315,
it's pushing up.
300,
It's pushing.
280. So I mean, it's. I'm looking on eBay. That's sold on eBay for sealed. So, TCG Player always has like a premium built into
Yeah,
it, just
yeah,
because
no, of course. It
is what it
just
is. But
surprised me that 350, that shocked me for a moment
it's the
because
340 at bids, which is
that's
crazy.
incredible. That's really incredible.
But again, they are moving, and that was just the past 2 days. So they are moving on eBay and these other platforms sealed. So
So
demand
yes,
is definitely still there,
like
more than what I thought there would be,
how
honestly, because I
many
haven't
would
looked.
they have had to made for that to not be at this price right now? And would that have done good things for celebrations? Because there's a lot of people out there who are saying like, we need more, we needed more, this wasn't enough. But
Yeah.
I think there were enough. I think.
Especially with specialty sets, there is a sense of leaving people a little thirsty a little bit. Not quite meeting demand. I think they could have probably done another run, especially of ultra premium collections. But again, it's a big product. It's again, anything that has like a unique form factor to it is going to be more difficult to make than like an ETB that they make hundreds of thousands of those every year. Something like an ultra premium collection, it takes a lot more effort. There's different specialty things in there. I don't know what it takes to make a metal card, but it's probably a lot more time intensive and requires a lot more to the process than just standard cards. So all that stuff that has anything that's unique or special packaging to it or something unique in it, it's going to be far less likely to get reprinted, especially down the road after they get done producing it. They're not going to go back and want to produce it again.
My
It does make sense to go back and make a smaller run for more money. It does make sense.
my distributor told me there's gonna be 7 products for the Pokemon Go set. Do you think we're
Yep.
gonna get an ultra premium collection with metal cards in that particular set?
Oh, that's I know what most of the products are, and there is a premium collection of some kind.
Yes, I know there is.
I
It's
don't know.
very
It's
ultra
not.
premium.
It's not the. It's not the price point of
No,
the
it's
ultra
like
premium, but
79, right? Isn't it 79.99
I think
or
so.
80?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, because
But
I've imagined that's going to be all three of the team trainers. I think it's going to be like full art trainers from like Candela, or whatever the
oh,
three
maybe.
Pokemon Go team leaders. That would be
Yeah, I
my
don't
thought.
know. I mean, this is a set that we don't have. I think it actually comes out in English, very close to the same as in Japan, I think.
It's
Is
in
that right?
July. It comes out this July.
In Japan as well.
I don't know about Japan, but in English. So I'm not a
I was thinking that
Japanese.
it's the
Yeah,
same release window, I think. So they don't get them early necessarily. So that's
that's
kind of a
cool.
weird thing.
It's like Celebrations. It was the same thing with Celebrations.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
really, really cool. So man, do you think that this is that Pokemon, the Pokemon Company International favors the Japanese side of the market more than the American, to the point where it's
Yes.
detrimental, to the
Yes.
point where it's sort of like handicapping itself?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Like, I've been listening to a lot of people talk about this, and I definitely feel like the more I think about it, the more I look at evidence and sort of things that sort of display this factor. It's very clear that the Pokemon Company, it prints like their best stuff in Japanese, and it's like they almost view the English like, here, you can have the scraps, you can have the leftovers here. They'll eat anything over there in America. They'll take anything. So like,
Yeah. I'm obviously they care about the Japan market the most because they're a Japanese company. And people got to remember that Pokemon International is by far the most cash lucrative of the Pokemon arm, but Pokemon Japan, they wear the pants. They do what they want. It's not the other way around. So everything is designed from Pokemon Japan, and they only care about what's going to make Pokemon Japan do the best. What Pokemon International chooses to do with all the rest of the stuff that they put out is whatever. They don't care.
do you think that'll ever change?
It would take a major cultural shift for that to happen.
Maybe a change
It
of
would
leadership. It would take some sort of a crazy change.
well, it'd have to be somebody that has a world scope
Mhm.
from the Pokemon Japan, or for them to let the Pokemon International folks in a little bit more and making those decisions. I just don't think that they necessarily even trust the Pokemon International company to make the best decisions for the company. I mean, obviously, so far so good. They're doing okay still. Regardless. But yeah, I just think they are doing things how they want to do it and what's best for them. And again, what Pokemon International chooses to do with what they can Frankenstein together from what they put out is is what they're going to do. It does suck. It does suck from both a competitive aspect and from even just like to get spoilers for something, and then we have to wait 2 more months. It just sucks.
It's
That's
rough. Like, I hear so many people talking about the whole
yeah.
spoiler thing, how they
And it used to be worse. It used to be where it was like 3 months, or really really far out, which is just like it was ruining it. Now it
yeah,
seems to be when you have the two sets, the second set is almost only like a month before pre-release starts happening in English, so it's not as bad
that's
as it used to
good.
be.
Yeah,
But still, uh, your hype can get really dwindled, and oh god, it looks really cool, and then a month later, who cares? Kind of effect to it. I think people really felt that even before. Well, Celebrations was unique because we had the leaked cards from the factory, but
well,
when we
Celebrations
started getting
leaked on Whatnot 1 month, an entire
mm,
calendar month early, to one single seller on Whatnot, and was
yeah,
being sold at $50 a pack.
yeah,
$50 a pack for probably 2 weeks straight.
hmm
Before you started to see like the general public, the general consumer base on Whatnot, just kind of backing off and just waiting until the actual release. It was, I want to go out, I've said this publicly, it was some of the scummiest seller tactics I'd ever seen. The seller was using the fact that he got it early. He was publicly saying that he got it off the back of a truck,
hmm
and that you would pay more and you would take the risk of sending it to PSA to get thousands of dollars to be the pop one first, rush to market, illegally, and he was advertising this on the platform, and I was publicly very, very outraged by this. I made several counter streams at the time. I was on the Discord speaking out against it, how it's a bad look for the platform. It's a bad look to be, on the platform that's known to get things early released before, a contraband product, sort of counterfeit. You don't want to be associated with those sort of negative connotations like on your platform. And so I still to this day, I do not approve of that on the platform. And I think that it's really bad to see. But do you remember that happening, or was that even like made? This is a big.
Yeah, I remember seeing a Twitch streamer do it as well, where Celebrations was just pretty rampant.
Yeah,
Early
no, but
release
$50 a
everywhere,
pack was. I'm not exaggerating. He was selling ETBs for $500.
Yeah,
without the regular
I
pack.
believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. Yeah, I think Pokemon, normally they're really harsh on that kind of stuff. I mean, Pokemon, when Wizards of the Coast had it, that obviously they were very strict about anything being leaked or prints being released or stuff like that. Of course, now we see printed sheets and stuff, but anything like that typically used to be destroyed. And then when Nintendo took over, Nintendo is obviously very, very secretive, very, very close, close to your chest. Don't release anything. When the secondary company printed that guide for Sun and Moon when it came out, or it's not Sun and Moon, I'm sorry, Sword and Shield, and they leaked the pictures from the factory that was making the strategy guide for it of the final evolutions, and they
didn't even hear
fined
that,
those guys, those employees. They went after and legally sued those employees for ruining hype or whatever term they used. Yeah, that was the thing. So Pokemon itself, I think, had to use the printing company still to obviously get the product out. But I think now that they're getting better, that we're going to see them really starting cracking down and saying, hey, you got to get a handle on your people, because this is not good for the business. And it's not. I mean,
it's horrible.
We knew that Gold Mew was in the set 3 months before it was out from some dude that leaked them. So it's just like, it kind of sucks, because this is a secret. There's a secret rare. It's supposed to be exciting and cool to see, but we all got ruined. So
yeah, and not only is it bad when that happens for the general consumer, because it's overall artificially high. They pay higher prices than they should. They usually get burned when the prices crash, and it's sort of this expectation that's a false expectation. So it feels misleading and scummy. But not only that, but in this particular case, when product like that gets sold or super early on a platform where there's other competition, it makes it so that really the other sellers on there, unless they want to also break the law and also sort of break their sort of code of ethics around what they're supposed to sell, it makes it very difficult to really compete in that sort of a space. So it was bad all around. So it's unfortunately something that we see on live platforms sometimes. And I think that, like you said, as Pokemon reins it in a little bit, or as like COVID times sort of end, they'll be able to rein that in a little bit. But yeah, it's very, very rough to sit back and have to watch that sort of thing happening time and time again, for sure.
Yeah, and I think I would not doubt that Pokemon would even go to Whatnot and be like, look, if you don't stop this from happening, we'll just lock you down completely, and just say you can't sell our stuff on there.
Yeah, and that's not revenue that Whatnot wants to give up at all. So like that was my
no, definitely not.
Like on the Discord, I was making statements, saying, hey, it's one thing if you're just against this for reasons for you don't agree with it because you don't like it, but it's bad for business as well, because it potentially will limit you down the line. So yeah, I haven't seen anything egregious like that happen since Celebrations. I constantly bring that up when I'm thinking about like sets that were leaked early or sort of super egregiously taken advantage of, because that one's sort of the one that left the worst taste in my mouth. There are lots of examples of it, I'm sure, out there. But
well, I mean, yeah, we knew the next Pokemon set after Brewing Stars that we saw, and the pack art was leaked for it before we knew it was even up for organized play stores. Are typically the first people to even learn a set's name, because it'll say pre-release for the set, and then it's like, oh shoot, that's the name of the next set, and they'll have sometimes they'll have like the actual official logo on there, be like, oh shoot, oh man, this is cool. But because we had those pack leaks again from the factory making these cards, Clearly, they still are having issues and still uh, not keeping a good eye on their employees, I guess.
So now that we've gone through the boom and we've sort of gotten to this area where it still feels like we're doing quite well. We're booming still. I don't want to say the hobby's cooled off to the point where it's like where it was before the boom, but it feels like it's leveled out quite a bit. Now that it's sort of steady, I see things trending sideways. Where do you what's the next big thing for you in Pokemon? Do you think it's slow and steady until the next anniversary? Or I guess what I'm asking is like if you had to put like a Pokemon sort of roadmap in front of you, if you could like say what the 5 to 10 year plan for that looked like, what would be some of your predictions for that if you had to say one?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Danny's video today, but
I didn't actually. Did he like put something out to that effect?
He announced it's the time to grind is now here, and
I
that
love Danny.
it's no longer Danny's one of the best people in the hobby, even outside of what he does on YouTube. He's
Yeah.
just a good dude and a good pillar of humanity in the Midwest for Pokemon, just in period.
Yeah,
But
he idealizes what I imagine like the Midwest of Pokemon sort of to be kind of what
yeah,
the idealistic version of it to be. Like
yeah,
that's what I think of
and
it.
that was again putting the YouTube content even aside and all the stuff and giveaways and all the fun that he does. Like he's just a good dude. That's and I love Danny. But what were we talking about? Let's go into the
10
future.
year, 5 to 10 year roadmap
Yes.
for a Pokemon in front of you. Yeah.
It's Danny definitely has a point in this video where it's just like we're going back to the grind, where this is like how things have always been. We definitely have more collectors than we have ever had. We definitely have more people interested in modern than we ever had. Again, a market that completely didn't exist before the boom in graded cards is still strong. Somehow, magically, still absorbing all these graded cards. I don't know how. I thought by now that the prices would have absolutely tanked and got destroyed, but doing decently okay. Still hitting major milestones and high prices for like the illustrated card. Even the one even if the 900,000 wasn't paid for, the next one was still the one that was paid. It was
700,
still
right?
a max for that card ever made
Yeah.
or ever at auction. So all these things were hitting new highs all the time. So obviously still going strong, still very strong, and people that are in the market still willing to put some money behind all these products. I mean, just look at Brewing Stars and how the prices are maintaining for that set. Literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these cards exist, and they're still, you know, 5, 10, 15, $40 a piece. Like
Finally, a set that outperforms Celebrations on my channel.
yeah, no doubt.
So,
I guarantee the set is definitely made for and does well for streaming, pack breaking, and stuff like that. It's so entertaining and fun to watch.
yeah,
Opening.
it used to be Celebrations was the most popular, most asked for set. People don't even ask for Celebrations anymore since Brilliant Stars came out. I mean, there are people who still like Evolving Skies, but for every one person that asks for Evolving Skies, 9 of those 10 people, like one out, will want Brilliant Stars, which is incredible to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Brilliant Stars was just a hell of a standard set. I mean, for it to be not a specialty set and have all this love put into it and all these special cards and all these, it's awesome to see. And it looks like here going forward, at least in the next set, we know confirmed for sure that we're going to have the trainer gallery return, and it's going to be major focused on the Legends Arceus game, which is huge. Sold very very strongly, and there's tons of people with crossover and stuff like that. So that set is people are saying this set's going to suck. No, there's no way. There's no chance in hell the casual market will eat that setup just because it's Arceus themed. Like, there's no other reason. Like,
And the
people are so
trainer
people.
gallery, it's going to have such beautiful cards in it. That
Of
like
course, yeah,
that's going to be a huge allure. Yeah.
yeah. The we haven't even seen the secrets from the Space Juggler set, so we're gonna get more. We're gonna get more special stuff in there, and people that talk about these investing and the sets or prediction stuff, they have such a narrow focus, and they look at it from like they're in these groups that all just talk to each other, and it's just like it's very closed off, and they don't see and look at the greater picture or the casual market of things. And look, not everybody's buying graded cards and flipping all this stuff and looking at this from a financial way. The most cards and sealed product is still by a huge margin being bought by casual collectors or casual people, children, people that want to crack these things open. A vast majority of these boxes and packs are not being hoarded and thrown in closets and put in attics and stonked, and they're being open and they're being enjoyed, and they're being opened up by people that don't care about the value in 5 years. They care about it right now.
And
they want to see the cards right now.
Yeah, and a lot of the cards that are being opened, like the singles that are being opened, a lot of, I think the narrative that on YouTube is and on the investment channels and all these like big brain kind of Facebook groups and things that talk about these types of speculative plays, it often is like considering like, okay, you look at the number of modern boxes there are that were printed. You multiply that by X amount for the hits, and you get your number of cards you think there are in the world. Then you look at how many were graded. You see those numbers are huge. Those are ballooning. Your brain automatically sees that as that's what's on the market. But that's not truly what's representative on the market. That's just what exists. Oftentimes, I think cards get opened and they get put into a binder. They get thrown into a box. They get purchased as a graded slab, put into a closet, and then that person leaves the hobby. They don't sell everything when they leave the hobby. It just stays in that closet until the next boom where they hear, oh, Pokemon goes to the moon. They say, oh, well, I have that card in my closet. And then they may dig it out and possibly sell in the next. But I think a lot of the cards that they're not so liquid, right? It's not such something that you can really easily get out of if you wanted to. And if you did, you'd take a big loss. And a lot of people, I think, love their cards and their collections, at least more than what they would sell it for at a loss if they wanted to get out. And so I think the perception that like there's all this stuff out there on the market, and that whenever you open more, it puts more onto the market automatically. I think there are a couple steps you have to take for it to actually end up on the market again. And I just don't know how many of the casuals have a TCG player store, who have a local game store that they can load their cards onto, have a Whatnot stream that they can pop onto and sell with 50 other, Whatnot streamers. So like, I think it's one of the things that's oftentimes miscategorized with, especially modern, more so than vintage, is the amount of product that maybe is available versus what's out there, because they're two different numbers. Because the product that's available is different than what's actually is out there. I would say that would be my analysis.
And when you go across from set to set to set, there's things that drive the casual market to want to open things. And especially like you look at celebrations, I guarantee you that there is a disproportionate amount of people that kept those products that are beautiful displays, your ultra premium collections and things. There's definitely people out there in a disproportionate amount from a standard set that are sitting on that stuff and putting it away and using it as a display or enjoying it, or whatever. The Evolving Skies ETBs that have the evolutions on it are being disproportionately collected and stored and not opened and truly being enjoyed as a collector's item than the Arceus Brilliant Stars ETB, for example.
And the Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, when you pull it as a casual, your first thought isn't, I need to sell this. Your first thought is, I'm going to hoard this forever. And I'm going to keep this, because you're not going to open another one. It's not like I'm going to open another pack and get another one. And even the casual collector knows this. So while that Umbreon does hold that value, I think the reason it's going up is because nobody's selling it. So, there are
so many factors that are ignored, just flat out ignored. And it's insane to me, because it is the vast majority of the people that just want to open and rip this stuff and enjoy it then and there, and they don't care about what it's going to do in 5 years. Or like you said, they're going to put it in a binder and have it for decades, and
until their kids drag it out, until their kids start playing like what happened with you. That's what's going to happen.
And the kids that open these things, and it's the card's a little off-centered, they don't care. They enjoy just the same, and they put in a binder, and they put in a top loader because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm a true collector, and they don't care though. And that's why the Pokemon company probably doesn't really care about like super pristine cards being like absolutely like there's some like egregious things that are being past quality control that probably shouldn't. But if it's it's a little past the 70-30 margin, they're probably gonna be okay because again, children's card game, guys. It's for children, and not everything is about the return on these things to a vast majority of the buyers out there, like to the huge amount of people that are just walking by it at Target and be like, oh hey, Pokemon, woo, let's go.
And that's a concept that I think a lot of the general YouTube Pokemon community, I think, is opposite of sort of what they're thinking, because a lot of people
It's
think of
completely
it as
ignored. Yeah,
it's an investment, and it's like if it's not an investment, it's only a collectible, and if it's not a collectible, then what is it? It's like it's a lot more than that. It's a little bit more than that to everyone. Like,
yeah, definitely. I think it's just not talked about enough. It's something that I try to having a local store and being like, hey guys, look, I'm getting this stuff traded in a lot. There's a lot of the stuff out here, and I'm buying and selling and flipping these cards. I'm flipping sometimes the same card over and over and over to different people. Like it's there's a lot of this out there. There's a lot of people it's changing hands a lot, and it's not always being kept in pristine and being sent off to PSA. That being said, there's a lot of it that is being sent off to PSA. So I'll relax a little bit too, because
yeah.
when
I think there's enough Champions Path promo Charizards in the world. I think we can stop sending those at this point, right?
or even when PSA puts out and says Pokemon was the #1 return item above any sports cards, above any Magic, anything, Pokemon #1 coming back, that should be like red alarm, like DEFCON 5. This
So
is like a bad sign.
DEFCON
Or
5 was when my grandpa from Oklahoma texted me, asked with a picture of a common Japanese card from like Neo Destiny they found in like the trash in the closet. He goes, hey, is this worth a lot of money? I heard that Pokemon was like worth a lot right now. He legitimately texted me, asking me that. And I had to break his heart, and be like, that's a common card,
right.
like there's a lot. It's not Charizard. And even if it was, it's like, it's not the $300,000 Charizard, but that's when I knew it was DEFCON 5 was when I got that text.
Right. For the amount of kids that come into my store and go, look at all my great expensive cards, and they're all bit in half and drug in the dirt and
half of them are
concrete.
fake. Yeah.
And we had 3 different buys come in the other day. That was Saturday. 3 different buys of fake Pokemon cards.
I get them all the
That's
time.
unheard of. That's unheard. Like 3 is a lot. Three in one day is a lot.
So I get them in vintage collections much more than modern. Though when I buy XY era modern, I found that the XY EX era, that era was counterfeited a ton for some reason in modern, more than anything else I've experienced. And then also the very old Wizards of the Coast stuff.
Right.
I keep all of my counterfeit stuff in like a box as like examples, because I think some of the examples are so creative and funny, and other ones are just like, why would anyone ever counterfeit this card? Like I have a Nidorino, like a base set Nidorino, just an unlimited base set Nidorino that like, why would someone ever counterfeit a Nidorino in base set? But
yeah, I have examples of stuff, and I made videos about counterfeits as well. Just trying to see, putting a real card and a fake card side by side and seeing if people could tell just in the video is fun. It's a fun video I did.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the EX era was the hardest for me to sometimes tell, because there's like the non-textured EXs, and like you really have to kind of look at the foiling pattern and everything.
Yes. Like the Phantom Forces, Flashfire, that kind of era.
That era. That's what I'm specifically referring to, and those full arts from that era sort of thing. Yeah.
I still have to bust out the loop and look and make sure on some of those, because like that like Mega Charizard, sometimes they look really glossy and look really, really, really not very clear. So I always have to I just out of habit, because I do it so often with Magic anyways, that I bust out the loop and like, oh yeah, it's good. But
I don't
It
touch
can
the
be kind
Mega
of iffy.
Charizards in internet collections because I'm so cautious
Oh
about
yeah,
that exact
yes,
reason. Yeah.
yes, yeah. It can be rough, especially if it's in a sleeve and a binder and you're flipping through and you're not really paying real close attention. It can definitely
Oh, that's good to
easily
go.
make a
Yeah, that's
mess.
good to
Yeah,
go.
you just don't. I mean, you say that because it looks just like the regular one that is blurry and really glossy looking. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, texturing definitely changed the game, and I think that's probably why we see so many counterfeits from that stuff back then,
Mhm.
because texturing wasn't a thing. But yeah, once texturing, they can't to invest in the product and the machine to do that. They're not going to do it. It's not worth it to them. So yeah,
So I still feel like we're in this boom period because it's like in the 90s where you saw these other little TCGs and CCGs being popping up as the boom was happening around the sports card boom and the original Pokemon boom. I think we're seeing that second coming of that with like all the Kickstarters and stuff. And that's something
mm.
I wanted to ask you about as like a store. Like as a store, do you ever really you keep all that stuff at arm's length for the most part, or are you kind of willing to try new things and bring on new games and really much more willing than someone like me who's like a small store who would maybe be where my bread and butter is very much so Pokemon. So like if I bring
Yeah.
on another product, I'm taking a big risk because like I already don't have the customer base and it's all these things. So like, but like for you, for example, do you see all these Kickstarters and do you see like opportunity there? Or do you just see it as like oh wow, I'm keeping you guys way at arm's length and I'm getting even farther away now? Because I have a couple that I've been following, I guess, and one in particular that I'm curious to see if you're going to get into because I think as a game store, you would probably have a different and very good and unique perspective on this question.
Can I ask what the game is that you're watching?
Well, I mean, it's obviously
Are
sorcery. It's obviously sorcery.
okay.
The artwork on it just looks cool, and it's one of the Rudy games, obviously, that is just now being pumped. Ironically enough, I had just watched probably 5 hours of content from like a small YouTube content creator who was covering the play of the game.
Yeah.
He does more like dead CCGs usually and does flesh and blood type tournaments, but he was covering sorcery. And so, ironically enough, like a week before, I just consumed a lot of content right before Rudy made this big announcement, and I'd gotten into the Kickstarter the day before. And so, like, then of course, Rudy made an announcement and it's already at 2 million. So, I'm curious, like, what you think about when you see not just that, but like other Kickstarters, like MetaZoo, for example. Let's talk about MetaZoo in that regard, because I don't think that Kickstarter really had the same effect. I think it took a little longer for it to really get its full funding. Whereas I think the funding for sorcery it's shooting for 750,000, but it's already at 2 million. So it's overshot and it has like 13 days left. So a little bit different.
Yeah. I think MetaZoo actually didn't even meet all of its stretch goals when
Yeah,
it
no,
was
not
in
all
the
the stretch
Kickstarter.
goals. And it took a while for it to reach its initial goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is proven by they have like a promo Kickstarter medal cards, that those cards were given away extra copies of those to Kickstarters because they have so many left over.
Mhm.
So, for example, I bought a collection of Kickstarter, somebody that backed it originally. It
Hmm.
actually has like the letter from like the sample cards that
That's
says, "Oh,
cool.
hey, it's really cool. It's really cool piece." And I have some sample cards from that collection as well. And anyways, my point is that he actually had seven Kickstarter metal cards that he was just sent extra because they probably had so many left over. That,
Right. And what are you going
he
to do with
printed some.
them? Yeah.
Yeah. So just a little perspective on MetaZoo and then the games have since then of how completely runaway freight train-ish things are, and people are just really trying to just hope they get lucky. It's definitely the Bitcoin chasing crypto bros that just want to get lucky on the next thing. That's what I see with a lot of these Kickstarters, and that's not what I look for in games. I don't look
No,
for
not
those
at
types
all.
of things.
Yeah,
And
not
I
at
look
all.
for, even if I did, let's say I brought in, let's say Sorcery came out and they had the first set of booster boxes, and because it was so crazy in Kickstarter that they did very much like MetaZoo, and they had a limited release of the base set or whatever, and the boxes were like $2,000.
Mm.
If I buy a case of those for whatever amount, I cannot put a booster box out in my store for $2,000.
No.
No one's going to buy it.
No, not
No
for
one's
the
gonna
first
buy-
time. Not just walking
Sure.
out of the street and buying it. They're not gonna. Yeah.
For some no-name game that they don't know anything about.
You'd have to
It's not
realistically
Pokémon.
put it on eBay. You'd really realistically have to put it on the
Right.
secondary market. Yeah.
It's not Magic. It's not Pokemon. Nobody knows what is this game. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I can't even sell Final Fantasy card game in my store. How am I supposed to sell a random thing that nobody knows anything about?
So for the sake of MetaZoo, for example, though, I'm sure that was the case for a long time. At a certain point, you probably do you carry MetaZoo now? I'm actually not sure if you carry it or not.
It's funny.
No?
I have a video coming out tomorrow talking about my recent experiences with MetaZoo.
Okay.
But I'll talk about it. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
I am not carrying Wilderness at all.
Okay. Wow.
I didn't buy any. I am still sitting on Cryptid Nation 2 boxes,
Okay.
and it's just not doing anything locally. It's not doing anything. In fact, the past boxes that I've sold have all been on our website, so not even local people that are buying it. They were very delayed on putting out the theme decks for Cryptid Nation 2. I think I only got them like a month ago.
I didn't even know they put out theme decks. I didn't see that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even see the item.
And I think I've sold like maybe 2 of each of the sets, and most of those were to my employees.
Yeah.
Which is great because they explain the game and teach people how to play. But
of course, yeah. So you want that.
Which is cool. But
it's not what you should rely on, though. Not what you as a game store should have to rely on. Yeah.
Not when I bought 3 cases of it. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So that answers that question to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, games really have to prove themselves, and not just like whether or not it sells right away or not, it doesn't really matter, but it's got to have something driving it, something behind the game that is going to tell to me that if I bring this game on and I buy the next 3 or 4 sets of it, that it's going to last that long, and it's going to be something that the back catalog is going to be actually desirable because it's playable and people want to buy those, and not just at release the hype is the next new thing, so let's all buy it, and then nothing.
Yeah.
And that is what MetaZoo has been, especially when I don't get the product on time.
Right. And there's all these other extraneous issues surrounding it too that sort of add to a little bit of the taste that leaves in the mouth, for sure.
Josh, they have numbered plushies, Josh. They have limited edition plushies.
Well, hold on. Let me go withdraw. Let me go contact my my retirement agency so I can draw from my account for that. I need to put in a new investment.
That is the grossest.
Yeah.
Like, you have a plush that is a collectible numbered item. It's insane.
Yeah, and
you give away at conventions only. A lot
of people they have a negative, not negative, but they have like a caution towards MetaZoo because it does feel like it's very much so artificially inflated in some regards. So I would agree with that. Yeah, and what you just said is an egregious example of that to the nth degree.
But I can't order that plushie and stock in my store.
Right.
I'm an official MetaZoo Play store, and I can't get that plushie from my store because that would devalue the numbered ones. If I can just sell the unnumbered one for $40 compared to the $200 for the numbered ones, it's counterintuitive to what they want the mentality of their stuff to be.
And so, at a certain point, you had enough people asking that you decided to try it out and bring it into the store. It's interesting that now it's like we're seeing it sort of like, okay, now we're seeing the counter side is like, okay, well, this is really what happens when you have all this demand, but not genuine interest.
Right. I initially brought it in because if it didn't catch fire in store, I could at least sell it online.
Yeah.
That was like the I had a fail safe for bringing it on.
And now, though, it's like the stuff's still kind of tanking. So did you know that Whatnot is starting to distribute directly to their streamers? I'm sure as someone who works through Whatnot, you got the email.
I did see that. Yes.
What do you think
Uh,
about that? I didn't plan to touch on this, but this is
is
such a
it
good topic that I think we
is it
should.
a special product or is it like a promo or what is it that
So
I
did you
don't
read the
remember what it
email? Basically, to anyone who's listening, about 2 weeks ago, yeah, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Whatnot put out an email to all its sellers, its verified sellers, saying, Whatnot verified sellers, we're starting a new program where we are going to start directly distributing product to our sellers, and we're starting with Wilderness, Cryptid Nation Wilderness from MetaZoo. And they said they would actually specifically in the email, they would be doing it across other products as well. And so they said directly through Whatnot, you can pre-order X amount of cases of this product. We'll charge you when it ships. We'll directly take it out of your account, et cetera, and we'll start distributing product at below MSRP to our sellers, so then they can therefore sell it on the platform and then make money at a good rate. To me personally, I think that's a brilliant and a very solid idea to start directly distributing to their streamers, because it not only does it sort of take away the bottleneck that a lot of streamers feel, that they can't get product to then sell at a good rate because they're sort of having to like go to the store and people aren't buying it, but it gives them a sort of distribution without actually having distribution, which I find that to be a very interesting concept. And I'm curious, did you think about like what the ramifications of that would be maybe further down the line? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Um, to me, as a seller, I hate that.
Well, yeah, that's a ton more like just normies who don't have the business license, who knows if they're putting their taxes in right, all these kinds of things, without just getting the same access as stores that had to traditionally jump through all these hoops for it.
Correct.
Yeah, and that leads to where I think one part of the community is to be like, heck yeah, that's amazing. What is bad about that? And then another
So
part of the community, is gonna say, well, hold on, there might be some small issues with this.
so when there's 100 whatnot streamers with all this product and they're trying to sell it all, and there's 100 people on at the same time trying to sell the stuff, how well do you think it's going to sell
Yeah.
when
And
you
so
spread the market out that much?
so I will disclose, I did take advantage of the wilderness opportunity because I don't have distribution for MetaZoo. So I said, okay, cool, it's a good opportunity to buy some at a good rate. So I took the opportunity. They gave the opportunity to buy up to 12 cases. I bought one. I did one. But that told me that if I was getting that opportunity, that meant everyone got that.
Sure.
And that told me that everyone was feeling the exact same thing that I was feeling. So I could imagine what the release day was going to look like on MetaZoo. It's going to be like unleash the gates.
Exactly.
So for me, I think I agree with you in that it's going to immediately push the market extremely, like way down on the initial release. But I think what we're going to start coming to, Mason, here, and this is going to talk about a little bit about what you talked about in your last video, which I thought was a really, really good video. The video you made talking about like whatnot and the environment selling on it right now. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these online sellers as we're seeing them open the doors to more and more sellers and it becoming more accessible for anyone to jump on and really get in and do it. We're going to see a lot more people either stop, fall out, or we're going to see that narrative change where the strong will survive, so to speak, and sort of the weak will fizzle out. Because right now it's like a mad rush. You have to understand the last 6 months, at least for me personally as a streamer, almost every single day I would stream, I would get 5 to 10 people either messaging me, commenting at me, asking me how they could do this too, or how they wanted to do, their dream was to start streaming too. And so like they finally, I think now that sort of I guess the streaming, like, and at least whatnot, and with product being more available and things being a little bit more normalized, I think some people feel like that's more accessible now. So there's like this mad rush, like it's like a mad rush to get into the gates. So it is breeding a lot of competition, and it's a lot of like oversaturation right now. But I think it'll breed itself out. I think this is something you see in a lot of new markets, and I think it's going to take it's not going to take long. As soon as it doesn't become profitable again, which it's very, very quickly becoming oversaturated, it's not the quick tendies. Most streamers, if you're not Cardinal Gaming, or if you're not the old card shop, or you're not a known name on a platform, if you go on, you're going to stream to less than 10 people. And most of your stuff will probably go for way under MSRP or way under what you could even sell it for on like TCG or like eBay. And so I do feel like it's right now a bad time to be streaming. But at the same time, I think that the streamers who push through it, and maybe the stronger streamers who had, good business practices, or at least my hope is that maybe this is hopeful thinking, but I do feel like we'll start to see, as those floodgates get open more, a little bit more of a bottlenecking just based on like who should be in the sphere and who shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think I said in my video, it's one thing for these people that have maybe collection of cards or something like that, or maybe that we're able to get product cheap or whatever, to sell on that platform and do well because the limited nature of what it is. I think once things get so where it's just so common and less rare to find these things, and even people just even sell like slabs, or people that sell just single cards on there, like what I used to do, they will eventually run out of those things to sell on there. So what will be left? The people that will be left are either new people that have their old collections or whatever they want to sell or whatever on there, or it'll be big conglomerate stores that, like, you're going twices and your people, those are the people that are going to still exist in
The ones that are churning and burning.
Yeah, the people that have made this a business, that whether they're not reliant on the next set, or they're not reliant on busting the next pack for Magic or whatever, because they can do this forever. They have an unlimited amount of resources to come and sell things. Or somebody like me, that I get regular trade-ins and I get people giving me cards all the time. Whereas if you go out and you maybe buy collections, then you go and whatnot and sell them, there's a lot of risk there, and there's a lot of just inconsistency. People that are consistent and can get product consistently are the people that are going to exist on whatnot here before too long. And yeah, I think a lot of us that, I'm not huge on the platform. I have, I think, 500 followers, so it's not not nothing. But it's like you have, Josh. How many people do you have followers?
So I'm pushing 4,500 followers.
Yeah. So you're eight plus times as many people as me. So
yeah, and it would not be easy for me if I had under 1,000 followers, and that's what a lot of people who watch. They watch streamers and they watch what I do, for example, or they watch what some of the bigger streamers do, and they say, well, that should be simple, right? But it does take time. So, I remember my first 700 or 800 followers. It took me over a year. So
yeah,
it's one of those things. But yeah, I think it's got to be really hard right now because if I didn't, when I went live, if I didn't get almost 5,000 people that got some sort of push notification or something when I went live, then I'd be lost in a sea of my guilty pleasure right now is, before I go on and stream, I shouldn't do this, but I do this every time. I go and count how many other Pokemon streams are happening at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I count how many are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. Rip till you hit, which was something that I developed on the platform. And it's funny that there's so many others that are doing it at the same time, but it's one of my fun things that I like to do. But it doesn't necessarily, for me, it doesn't matter as much because I built the platform and it's
sure.
I have my regular phone. But for the new streamers, I really do feel for them because I want them to succeed. I want this thing that they want to do, that's a passion they have, to be viable. So I guess I think about that.
You care about the new guys that come in?
I do. I absolutely do. So I've always said this so much, and it's not just posturing. It's not just posturing or whatever. So some people might think that's just competition, right? And to a certain extent, it is. To a certain extent, everyone who sells cardboard is competition, especially on the same platform. But the more people that sell this stuff, and the more that these sales are public, and the more that these transactions happen transactionally, and not just so like behind the scenes, the more public it is and the more that it is easy to sell these cards, I think the better off and the stronger the hobby will be and the stronger the sales overall are for cards. Because when cards are doing well overall, the whole hobby's doing well. So I suppose it goes along with like the thought process that like when the tide rises, all boats rise. And so to me, the more people that are on these platforms, these live platforms, selling, interacting with the hobby in a new way, providing content, creating, these spheres, these places where people can go and hang out in communities, that's better in the long run. So I actually do view that as a good thing. Because to be 100% honest, my competition aren't other streamers who are streaming right then. I don't even know who I would consider my competition is, because I've never felt like I've had competition in the sphere. Even when I say I go on, I see 50 people streaming and 5 people doing the same thing. Even those 5 people doing the same thing as me, I have a hard time looking at them directly like competition, as much as it's like peers. I view them as somewhat, I want them to do well, I guess. I don't know. Does that make sense to a certain extent?
No, that's stupid.
I
not
guess
that you I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth, but especially for an auction setting, the more people that are in that auction and feeling the pressure and the momentum of an auction will pay more.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a fact. It's a known. I mean, it's unequivocal.
But it's not good when things go artificially high, because it breeds a sense of feels bad in the hobby that I think is
correct.
Detrimental overall. So that's my argument, is that while maybe in the short run it might be better to not have the competition, I think that the competition being there and then getting its chance to flesh itself out is overall better. And I guess I'm just trying to think of things like I plan to be in the hobby for a while. And so I'm thinking of like long-term following, like I'd rather be a customer come to me once and come back at 10 more times and make small purchases than come once and make one big purchase that they're unhappy about because it was way overpriced, or they felt the pressure of an auction, or they felt negative sales. I would rather the 10 transactions later on down the road and happy sales than the one transaction that was maybe that less work but more profit. So that's sort of my thought process there. I guess that's,
yeah. I mean, as an established person on there, I guarantee that the vast majority of the people that are on your streams, it's not the first time there.
Yeah,
like vast majority. But for the new people that do scroll through the Pokemon section, like, all right, who am I going to watch? Like when I first got on there, I didn't know anybody or anything. I was like, all right, who's got the biggest number? I'm going to sit on and see what that dude's doing. And the longer I have to scroll to get to that person, there's less chance of it being found.
Yeah,
so
less likely.
I don't know. My stance is like Michael Jordan. F them kids. Like I'm gonna be the guy that I want to be the guy that is the channel. So that's not me being competitive. That's just me being like, that is the best chance for me to make this worth my while and worth my time, and to maximize the profit that I can get from it. But here, and maybe if you're ripping product and you're getting, maybe that's a different stance than if I was just like auctioning a card, for example.
Right.
Maybe that's different. But yeah.
So
that's why I'm out and you're staying, because it makes sense for you because you're well established. Right. I'm relatively new compared to you, and I can go put these cards on eBay and get 80% of the value, as opposed to getting half the value on whatnot, and it becomes less of a way. It's I can't justify it. I can't justify losing that money.
Right. As a buyer's perspective, it's better to go on and have options, I would say, and because you want to be able to choose between, you don't want 5 streams, you want 20 streams. You want to be able to choose between the flavor of the week, right? And so I would say that as like over time, like the person who opens up the app, if every time they open up the app, they see the same 5 people, and it's just the same 5 people, they're doing different things, but they're always there and they're consistent. I would argue that would maybe lead to maybe less exposure to the hobby, less exposure to the app. They would stop opening the app as much. You'd start seeing the same names and stop engaging. So I would maybe make the argument that for those sellers who are there, it would over time add more customer base, more eyes, more exposure by having more competition on the app, because for the buyers it creates a better experience. And as a seller, I would say that you want your buyer to have the best experience possible, the smoothest experience possible, because that leads to more continued interaction or more repeat interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where if Whatnot's buyer base is very, very strong, that yes, they want to bolster the sellers because that means that, like you said, it kind of spreads it around and gets it to be. But again, what you sell on there and what I sell on there is different.
Totally
So,
different. Like
so
you sell
yes,
singles, I sell pack breaks.
right,
Totally different mentality. Yes.
right. I
100%
want
different.
as many people in that room as possible.
Yeah. And I only
You
need one person in the room
sure,
as long as
sure,
that person is buying. So there's
right.
a different,
The
right.
more people is just the longer the line is for you. So yeah,
Exactly.
that makes sense. Yeah.
There's a different level for different types of businesses. And that also makes sense. Like talking it out, that makes a lot more sense thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Uh,
oftentimes look at single streamers on Whatnot, and I oftentimes wonder, and I joke on my people who are listening to this, they hear me all the time on my live. They probably are in my Whatnots. They hear me saying, like, I do not know how people do singles on a daily basis on this app, because unless you're literally like beating up kids on the playground and stealing their cards and then selling those cards, you're probably not making much of a profit. I mean,
not anything that you can plan for. I mean, that's the thing is to me, it seems like, pick a day or, maybe a big hot game for March Madness is going on while you're wanting to stream and you don't get the views. Like
yeah.
you're losing money at that point. So, and then maybe end the stream early and you leave, and then that creates a bad experience as well for the people that did show up. And then, and that's kind of like the situation that I was getting in, where it's just like, well, I am diluting my good cards. I have less and less good cards to sell. I'm getting through like the mediocre stuff at this point, and the people that that are wanting to buy like the super premium stuff that is very good, that used to buy it for cheap because I didn't have a lot of people in there, but I was still comfortable selling it at that point. Yeah, it was okay, but as the market widened and more people went to different sellers, it became less and less competitive, and it became less and less of like I said in my video, like people would sit in my stream and be like, hey guys, I really want this card, don't bid on it.
Yeah, that happens
And then it's
sometimes
just
in
like,
my streams as
and
well.
just like, I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
It's funny because that is one thing that when you have a large enough pool of people in there, that is a way to prevent against something like
Exactly.
that. You have
Yes.
30 plus people in your stream, one person saying, hey, I want that. 29
30,
of those people are
30
saying,
does seem like the like where that starts to not matter anymore.
yeah,
But
I
anything
feel
like
very
if you get like the
comfortable when I
15,
have
20
30.
range, it's like,
Yeah, so in the
yeah,
teens is when I start to feel a little bit more uncomfortable when I'm running auctions. If people are like not bidding and
right.
things are going real under, I feel like it's not my fault. It's mostly the viewership. But though if I have 30 plus people and things are going under, it's what I'm running. It's my fault. It's not the
Right.
viewership. So
Sure.
there are levels where like viewership does matter and doesn't, and it matters about who's in your stream too. And that was the same when I was a streamer with less than 500 followers too. So like that was always the case
Oh
about
yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
a streamer, like who's in your stream, whether you have a buyer, not a buyer, whether you're just spectating. These are all things that sort of matter. And you as a streamer can kind of control that based on like the types of customers you curate over time too. I've found that personally. Like I've started running giveaways on my channel, which is something I've never done before. I oftentimes in the past felt negatively towards channels that ran giveaways. I felt like it was almost a cheat code, or it felt like a disingenuous way to get viewership or to potentially get following or anything. But I've recently started running giveaways in every single one of my streams. And the reason why I started doing it wasn't necessarily why people would think like it started after I came back from the Leonhardt pop shop. I was driving home and just kind of a weird thought. I started thinking like I wanted to do more for like viewers and people who were in the community who weren't necessarily like actively purchasing. And so I thought of maybe what I could do to potentially kind of give back without having to do anything. And so I was thinking, oh, well, I can do a win-win. I can gain viewership, and I can sort of reward people who are there. And I thought, I'm going to start doing giveaways every stream. And so I said, I'm going to do a giveaway once every stream. I'm going to do every stream, I'm going to do a beginning giveaway. And that evolved into, I'm going to do a giveaway every 10 auctions. That very quickly evolved, because my auctions went too quickly, into every 15 auctions. And then I started sort of doing it. And now I run every 15th auction. It's free on my stream. I just do whatever we're doing. We rip till you hit. The person, if I run a giveaway, you join the giveaway and you get a chance to do it there. And I found that not only does it help increase my viewership, but it also sort of increases, it feels like, the engagement of the channel, and it helps give people a chance who maybe can't bid, that ability to kind of get in. And when it comes down to it, it's $5-10 at the end of the day for me. So it's not a huge deal as far as a giveaway is concerned, but it feels pretty good. So now I have a different stance on those sort of things, but I have found that it does breed a different type of customer. You get people coming in now that I never had before, that just come in and say, hey, when's the giveaway? And I'm okay with that to a certain extent, because I know it's something that I've bred by doing this every stream, and I was sort of expecting it, but it's also not the intended effect, right? So I sort of have, I guess I have mixed feelings on that. But yeah, I do think that streamers, they have to do things to sort of, that to the outside eye may seem like it's a little bit maybe manipulative, or maybe a little bit like disingenuous. But the reasons why I think they do it are always, I think for the most part, sometimes you can kind of look behind the scenes and sort of figure out why, right? But yeah, it's definitely competitive right now. And I would say that I personally think that in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to see a shift again. Like, I think in the last 2 months, we've seen a big shift. And I think in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to see another shift.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it must be something on that Whatnot is seeing on their end that is good for them, I guess, that if the buyer are increasing enough to where they feel like, well, we need more sellers. We got to get these people in different rooms. And maybe that is a way of responding to these people that are getting sponsorships and stuff, and they're seeing these products going for way high, way higher than they should be. Maybe that's their kind of way of like trying to balance that out a little bit, try to dilute the people on purpose to keep it more competitive and more reasonable, where people just don't come in there and just wipe the floor with everybody because they can and they want to throw their money around. I can see where that could be a thing that Whatnot's wanting to do right now, because they have been getting a lot of negative stuff, especially with Pops people and people in the retro game area, where they're sponsoring people and they're selling stuff on their platform and it's going for way too much. I mean, people are the sellers going, guys, this is overpriced, stop paying, and they don't. Like,
I had
that's a weird thing to see going on. And say what you want about whether that's good or bad, or if it's it's a gambling problem that person might have that is causing this, as opposed to wanting to support them. You don't really know which it is. So, but yeah, I think Whatnot is trying to correct it by doing this, and that's fine. Like, obviously they're going to do what's best for the platform. That just means I'm going to sit out for a little while. I'm not done. I'm not done with Whatnot. If I do get something that I do think will be good on there, I will definitely build up my little treasure trove of stuff and maybe hop on there maybe once a month or twice a month, something like that, just to try move through some stuff. But for now, I'm happy just where things are, just not doing it on a regular basis.
How do you feel about live platforms in general? Because eBay is coming out with their live platform essentially to compete with Whatnot. There's the Drip, there's all these other competing. How do you feel about that brand of selling of cardboard or collectibles in general?
I'm interested to see how far they kind of define things, because I think Whatnot would probably do pretty well, and it would be in their best interest maybe to separate, like particularly with Pokemon, to maybe do like a 3 category thing where it's like, this is for pack breaks, this is for raw singles, this is for graded.
Oh yeah,
maybe
that's actually really
doing
cool.
something like that.
And then maybe
might be a good idea
stream or something, or yeah,
and you can have some mix over, obviously, but I think that would make expectations a little bit better. So there's plenty of people that, when I was doing sealed for Brilliant Stars when it first came out, that, oh, you're not running singles, okay.
Like, no, people come into my stream, they say, hey, are you running singles? And I'm like, I've never once. I have not
Right.
like once ever done a single stream. Like
Right.
where do you think you are? You think this is going twice?
Which sucks because you potentially lost a person leaving, but
Right,
the
right.
expectations is also important, and it's like, man, I don't know who's doing what. Get out of here. Forget it. There's that aggravation from a buyer's standpoint as well. So maybe they would be better off defining things a little bit better. Uh, Just an idea that I've had.
Yeah, yeah, and that might help with the dilution. Like when you see that, because like currently, I mean, when you see 50 people streaming, I have to scroll probably 5 minutes before I get to the bottom. And like the
Right.
average person, they're not going to scroll 5 minutes. They're going to scroll right to the top. They're going to see the first thing they see that they want, and they're going to click on it and say, "Oh, there's 40 people in the stream. Oh, there's 80 people in the stream. There's 100 people." That's where they're
Right.
going to go. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, having a
So
little more of a definitive like search bar, that would be good. And they've been doing that. They've been adding categories every
yeah,
like
they've been like separating categories out and making things their own unique thing, and
I,
making things more clear. So
I was
they
streaming
are
Weiss
doing it.
for a while and they didn't even have a Weiss category. So now they have a Weiss category. So that would have been nice
Oh,
when I was actually
nice.
streaming it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously growing and figuring things out and changing things as I go. So like I said, I'm not like, I don't think Whatnot's evil or anything. I think that getting rid of all the gambling aspects was good for them. I think that's a positive.
I think they need to keep
But
working on that. I think they need to keep
yes,
pushing that
yeah,
agenda a little bit because I do think it needs to be reined in a little more. But I think the initial crackdown on that was very needed and very good. I agree with that.
yeah, and like I said, I think the biggest thing is the perception of it. These sponsored, uh, influencers coming in and things are going for way overpriced. I've seen, like I said, particularly with retro and with pops and things, that people are very much hating on Whatnot and swearing off the platform just because of that type of behavior. And it is kind of scummy to pay people to run auctions on your platform and give them money for those items. It's kind
And
of
then
it
let
is
them sell them and get the profit off of it, and then
yes,
not pay your other sellers. Yeah,
correct.
feels a little bit
It's
weird.
definitely like they've always used influencers to push their platform,
Yeah,
but this is even more so like paying for people to be on with them, and it sucks because it's exploitive for those YouTubers because their communities are feeling used.
yeah, and then
So
they're being
that's
taken
where the
advantage
the
of.
backlash is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
no,
in a
and I
weird
think that
spot.
that kind of stuff is all growing pains that we see in a lot of a lot of these types of markets. But
Sure.
it's definitely things to keep eyes on for sure. But I think that overall, I think those live selling platforms and just that evolution of like the marketplace is probably a net positive for even with all of that scumminess happening and all the people that got burned. I think it's probably when things get sorted out, it'll be an overall net positive for the hobby. Because I mean, comparing
Yeah.
it to like eBay, like I mean, I would rather, I think, if I had the same opportunity, I could buy a card that I could see it on a video in a live stream. I could ask them to turn it over, see the corners. I would rather buy a card that way than having like one flat picture on like a sales platform like eBay and then not knowing the other bidders and not knowing if it's going to get shilled against by some random. Because I mean, I think you have the same issues that arose on eBay probably on the early days where things would probably go very high or maybe things would go low, it'd be shill bid. People wouldn't necessarily know because there's not necessarily that visibility on the internet. So I bet you those are things that maybe most marketplaces sort of have gone through at times like these.
Yeah. I mean,
Auctions, at least auctions.
yeah. I mean, auctions in particular are a good true indicator of value, but also obviously can be manipulated as
It,
well. So
it,
it's
it's
kind of
funny because they sit on that. It's like two sides of the same coin. It's like on one side it is the truest value of in a true market, it's the truest value of the item. But on the other side, in like a manipulated market, it's a completely falsified number. So
yeah. I mean, and like you said, as a seller, I much prefer the ability to take 30 seconds and show a card and sell it to the room that may be watching it and get. I'm okay with losing max value on it. I don't need the exact eBay price for that card because I don't have to wait. Like the time saved is worth it and worth the extra cut. But then it gets, like I said, it gets to a certain point where it's just like, oh well, I just sold a $200 card for $30, so yeah, let's not do this anymore.
So now that the market is doing this, now that streamers are being able to get distribution through Whatnot, and we're seeing maybe distributors potentially start opening their doors again, do you think now is the time to start thinking about opening a game store? If someone out there is thinking, all right, now's my time. I've been waiting this whole time, these last 2 years. I've been waiting, biding my time. Now, strike while the iron's hot. What would you say to someone who said, all right, now it's time? Would you say it's good?
No.
No, just straight no.
When COVID shutdown happened, it is estimated that we lost a third of the game stores. The game stores that closed during COVID did not reopen.
So wouldn't you say there's about a third of market share that needs to be?
When the boom happened for Pokemon, all these other smaller sellers came in to fill that void that existed. November of last year then destroyed those guys because they had the huge dump of product on them.
Yeah.
And they're losing their asses right now. Right now, it's still happening.
Yeah, right.
I've seen stores.
Yeah,
I've seen stores and sellers open and close their doors in the same amount of time in the past year and a half to a year.
So now is probably the absolute worst time, you would say.
Yes. I mean, yeah, you can get product, but you're not going to get the prices that you are expecting to get for them. Definitely not. Especially if you don't have the client base and the buyer base to sell these things to. And if you're trying to do it online, no, definitely not. God, no. Like, you will be destroyed. Because again, the people that are getting,
yeah, you'll get lost in the sea. Yeah.
And the products and the people that are buying, they're buying from the TCG players and the, what's the big dude on eBay that sells the joins things?
Football Pete. Yeah.
Yes.
Football.
They're buying from them. They're not buying from you, because they get things at unbeatable prices. They get things for 20% lower than you can get it for. So you're going to get destroyed by them. There is no market for higher level people or for higher prices if you don't have that customer base like an LGS does, like an established LGS does. And I've said this, I can sell things for a little bit higher because I have the client base that comes in and sees it there now and is okay with paying for it and paying a little bit more for it.
It's the LGS premium. That's expected.
Sure.
It's always had that.
It's the here and now tax, basically. Mm-hmm. It's the instant gratification. You as an online seller, especially, you don't have that luxury. You don't have that where you can A, sit on the product, or B, the clientele to come up and grab it for that extra low premium, because you'll be destroyed by the big fish that can sell it for cheaper and sell it faster than you can.
To put that into perspective, I sold so I'm getting close to 10,000 sales on my Whatnot platform. In the last 2 years, I've sold less than 1,000 sales off of that platform through my online website. So like this stuff back here, this doesn't move on my website. This moves on Whatnot. So for like people out there who are thinking like, okay, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to get my distribution now, I'm going to start an online store. Maybe think a little bit about that, because that is not exactly now if you have sort of a new idea, then maybe you can try something else, reinvent the wheel, but just using the same old
if there's a need for it in your community, or if you're again filling these holes that were created, you can definitely do that.
In my community, there's not a game store within 45 minutes. I'm a home business, but I'm the closest thing to a game store that I have in 45-minute radius. So you would think, and I'm in California too, so you would think there's some sort of a demand for that.
Yeah.
Right? But
I would think.
But once again, I think real estate's so expensive in California that small game stores have always struggled to open their doors.
Yes.
Oftentimes in my experience in California, when I was like in other parts of the country, I've lived in several. I've lived in Oklahoma, been to Texas. I haven't lived there, but I've been through and stayed there. Nevada and Las Vegas area. all those areas much easier to find local game stores in. But California, I was never able to find a local game store
Yeah.
ever. So I mean,
Yeah.
they existed, but
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in California. I don't know if you knew that, or
that's right. That's right.
your audience definitely doesn't know that. So I grew up in California, and I know the type of stores that you went into buy Pokemon or whatever was sports card stores that have been in there for 40 years,
Yeah, they didn't
because
have tables to play
the
either.
rent's so low that they are locked into some super low cheap rate, and they're
It's like in a
still
strip
grinding out.
mall. It's like an old strip
Exactly.
mall that has like a little
Yes.
tiny, and there's no table space, and it's like,
No.
yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah.
is not their main thing. But you can buy Pokemon cards there. They have a couple boxes that you can buy, or singles or whatever,
Mhm.
or boxes you can sort through. I remember that growing up in California, and not so much. Yeah, nobody's opening up brand new game stores in California. It's just
Play
you
space
can't.
is too expensive. That's why. But you need play
Space in
space as a
general.
game store. Really,
Yes.
it's
I mean,
important.
especially, yeah, I mean, you have to have table space to become an organized play store, which allows you to do things like pre-releases where you do make decent money on. So, yeah, you definitely need a big enough store to have tables and build a community and have tournaments. And yeah, there's a lot of places out there that that's just not possible.
Can you
Not for
imagine
starting.
a small game store adding like a full-time streaming room, like a room with like a glass wall where they have a streamer full-time streaming like as the game store is open, so people can kind of watch. You have it up on the TV behind to watching online, stream with your channel.
Why would you do that and not just do that at home and just stream from home? And what's the advantage?
The advantage would be potentially having a brick and mortar store where you're actually outward facing to the public. You can get walk-in traffic, you have higher distribution potentially, you can have play space, and then the advertisement would be like, oh, this is happening here. It's kind of like an at a chocolate factory when they have the glass wall and you can kind of view the chocolate
Sure.
being made. It's not the factory itself, but it's like the one part that you see. I mean, I feel like something like that could, maybe it's my streamer mind just thinking like, oh, that's what, but I could see a space being created if the live streaming thing kind of continues to push forward, where I think that the smaller home businesses would be at a disadvantage to someone who had like, they were paying a high schooler or paying some 20-year-old 15-20 bucks an hour to sit there for 5 hours and stream. And you're not then doing it, but you're paying an employee to do it, and you can just have something constantly online running it. I could see a business model for a local game store that also leaned into that, especially in like a larger, more metropolis type area. I could see that maybe being the future of game stores, but I'm very biased in that because I'm a streamer. So
Isn't that what happened to Mark's card store that got in trouble with PSA? Didn't they have a streamer dude that was making 80 grand a year? That's how they got in such
So they
a
had a
big
Twitch,
trouble.
I believe, yeah. But I'm speaking specifically like a actual business with like a room that has like a glass wall and a table that you have like done up with microphone. Just it's like a studio room, and you've always got someone in there streaming from 9 to 5 when you're open, and so people can then in your store they can either interact with your store like a normal product, normal game store, or they can interact with the stream. They can purchase the stuff and have it opened on the YouTube or whatever it's being streamed to and see it on the big TV and then look in the video and watch them in the room. I personally think that in a world where people like to be involved, see how the cookies being made or whatever, I can see a world where that potentially could work out. But then again, maybe I'm just letting out all my secrets here. So
Would you let them come in there and open their own packs?
no. No.
Oh,
So it would be an exclusive room where you would be able to watch behind, but you can open your own pack if you want to, but if you want to see it on the screen, no, you're not going to go and derail the stream and like sit down and put your dirty hands in
no.
there for all of YouTube to see. No, if you want to interact with the cards, you could buy it physically right there for the normal price, but then you could also buy it from the stream, and have it done open live if you wanted. And then you'd have your online happening at the same time too, people in the stream interacting. I mean, I was toying with an idea like that, and I was wondering if other game stores had ever considered that, because I personally think that sounds like a brilliant idea. Because you could then open yourself up to both your normal customers, and then you would open yourself up to that whole online marketplace, and you just pay someone a flat, rate, to be doing that.
I don't know, Josh. I don't know. I think you'd be surprised by the difference in people that want to come into your store and the people that buy from a stream.
No, that's true. That is 100% true. I think there is a separation for sure. So I don't think you're going to be capitalizing more on those customers per se. I would just look at it as an additional stream of revenue, something you'd be able to open up, say, at all times. So like when there is nobody, because I'm sure there are times in your game store where literally nobody walks in the door. You're sitting there, you're looking at the wall. It's Tuesday afternoon on a Tuesday. You got your 3 or 4 regulars, you got your employees, but there's not a lot going on. There's no pre-release. And so those times it would be nice to have some revenue coming in from online, probably. Maybe as a stream. That would be my thought, to capitalize on times like that, like in an evolving marketplace where you're more and more competing with online sellers. It would be a way to sort of compete in that space. That would be my thought process.
Are you pitching me an idea right now? Is that what's happening? Are you trying to spitball and throw an idea at me and see how
I'm
I
not
feel?
saying that if I had a game store that I would have done this a year ago or anything, but I don't know. I'm not saying that, but
we stream our Pokemon tournaments.
those are cool.
Those are nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Fun. I'm on there sometimes playing and get my butt beat by a Gengar deck. So
I actually started watching one of those the other day. Those are pretty long though. I haven't gotten through a whole one.
No, yeah, a couple rounds is 2.5 hours or so.
Yeah. It's a long stream.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an interesting idea. Why don't you do it?
I'm working my way there.
All right.
Yeah, no, I do think that the future of small game stores is not as bleak as I think I was feeling about it right before the pandemic. Like if you would have asked me before the pandemic or before this whole boom that if I ever thought that opening a small game store would be viable in any sort of world, I would have said hell no. I would have said it's a great idea. I love the people who do it. I wish there were more, but that's not me, because I wouldn't want to live in poverty my whole life. I don't feel like that anymore, though. I feel like there's more opportunity than there was. And I also feel like
got a beautiful loft here, and with the it's 1.5 story. Look, it's not.
And you were doing this
the Ritz, but it's
you were doing this long before even the Pokemon Go boom. So like it's clearly it is a business model that works. But like the perception, it wasn't like that before. Whereas now, I'm not saying that perception is that you can like get rich, but I do feel like there's more people in the Pokemon sphere. They're looking at it more as an opportunity than there were before, and I don't think they're exactly wrong to look at it that way. I mean,
there is definitely innovative ways to change the traditional game store into being something that is more modern, more online, like I said, with streams and things like that. Especially like if you look at us, we don't just do card games. We do video game tournaments. We do Smash Brothers tournaments. We do wargaming and all these things. You kind of have to build those into your game store now. There are no card stores anymore. If a place is just a card store, they like it's the old guy doing sports cards from the 40, that's been there for 40 years. Somebody that's opening just a card store these days, I don't think it's viable. You have to have some sort of online presence, and you have to be able to promote yourself and get your name out there to be able to draw people in, because there's just not money at card store type of activities for just Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever X card game. It doesn't exist anymore. It can't exist. There's not enough meat on the bones anymore. It's too competitive. Online markets are too competitive. Again, the big fish will eat the small fish when it comes to things. And when the rubber meets the road, there's no amount of people walking in your door than compared to the people that are just going to go online and buy for the cheapest person. Or you have to have more to it. There's got to be something else to draw them in there, because you lose market share constantly to online, especially when you're thinking about things like with us all getting out and going back normal and going out and going places now. Yeah, we're going out and experiencing things now, but we're not buying things necessarily. We're all been taught to buy things online now. Everything's bought online. You order groceries online. You do all this stuff online. We go out for experiences. We stay inside to buy things.
Mhm.
And I think as going forward, game stores where we're shying away from being entertainment spaces and community spaces, we have to become those things again in order to get the people in the doors, because that's the things that's going to set us apart. And we have to have a diverse amount of experience and a diverse amount of people coming into the store for different reasons to make it viable.
Right, because if you're purely looking at a product, and this is something that you saw happening even years before, like you would see
Mhm.
players going online, buying their product, then bringing it to the game store, using it in the game store, and then
Right.
like complaining about the prices the game store is actually selling things for when they're using their space with the product from their competitor that they bought online. So you see this, you saw that happening still, and I think that that's something that, as you said, players and people in the hobby, I think, need to really value more, and they will as those game spaces and those spaces disappear in communities, and people realize, like, well, let's go down to our local game store, and they realize, oh wait, our local game store is gone because we bought everything online and we didn't support them, and okay, well, I guess we're going back online. And then that means they'll never have a local game store again because there's no reason to put one there. So it becomes a
Right.
vicious cycle that needs to be corrected by the community by valuing those game stores. And you know, I think that they'll this is something there's something special about what maybe this is me being a local game store brat, just like this like nostalgia I have towards it, this romance I feel towards the local game stores. But like, I can tell you that without ever have walking into your store before, I can walk into your store, sit down at a table, and interact with the people in your store the same way I've interacted with everyone else I've ever been to a comic book store with. There's some sort of a weird community, a weird sense of belonging among card players and game store folk. So maybe that's my romance towards that coming out. But I do feel like there's an intrinsic value that LGSs have, that like we go through these times where people are like, the LGS is just, it's useless. We don't need it. We're into other things. But then when it's gone, they long for it. And I mean, we're seeing it in certain regards, like in California, like in the small business realm, like those big chain restaurants, like the Outback Steakhouses, the Sizzlers, you know, the big chain grocery stores, they're sort of being supplanted by a lot of the smaller, more mom and pop sort of specialty shops. You're seeing like bread stores and bakeries instead of like grocery stores that sell everything. And you know, you're seeing cheese stores and shops pop up, which like, who the hell has a cheese shop anymore? Like, there's a train store in my town. There's like a hobby shop that sells trains in my town.
Wow.
I took a picture of it today while I was out because I was going to put it in the Discord because I thought it was so funny. I was like, next time someone says the hobby's dead, I'm just going to post a picture of that train store. It says open. but but like, these businesses, they come and go like out of style, I guess. And it does feel like it's more of that move towards artisanal, that more move towards small business. It happens every once in a while, and I think the local game store will experience a little bit of that in I hope the near future, as we do go out more and people do say, oh, wow, you know, well, maybe I didn't see the point of a local game store when I wasn't allowed to go in because it's like mandated by the
Right.
government. We can't leave our house, but now I can leave my house. Like, maybe this place isn't so bad. Like, maybe I'll pay 10% more. Maybe I'll pay 20% more for a product if I can just buy it here and enjoy it. So
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think it's bleak. I
no, and
see a
you
good
have to
future.
walk that fine line, and you have to be very conscious of what the perception is currently.
Yeah.
The stores that close and get left behind are the people that fail or refuse to adapt and become the types of businesses and the places that the local community wants it to be. You can do a lot of stuff online, and you can sell a lot of things online and do fine doing stuff just online. But if you want to have a game store, like, I created this business not to sell things online. I created this business to run a game store. To be a game store, you have to be able to make those little adjustments. Sometimes every week, every release, every time somebody walks in your door, to make it better than the last person that walked in your door.
Are you still
Or
waiting
else,
for those tables?
no, I finally got those tables.
You got them.
I got it.
Yes.
Yes, I finally did, and I used them for our stream setup. So our stream setup is, we were waiting on our stream setup to do that, to have
That's cool.
those tables over there. So we finally got those in. Yes.
Slow
which
and
is
steady, man. It's this little bits at a time, right? Yeah.
look, I tell you, I'm just waiting on my vending machines at this point to actually start working because I've been waiting on those since November as well.
You don't have vending
So
machines already? Like that's like people don't realize that local game stores, when they actually have people in them, make so much good money off of snacks. Like
yeah, I
snacks are
mean,
where it's at.
yeah, snack sales are very important and
Dollar
a good
bag of
thing to offer.
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I haven't had a drink machine because well, various reasons. It's complicated. But yeah, it's there's nothing I can do. Like I'm not a vending machine technician. I don't know what the hell to do. So I'm just at the mercy of the people that are taking care of them for me.
Go to a
So
scalper,
that's
a vending machine scalper. You don't have a local vending machine scalper? Go to the Facebook group.
shoot. I guess I need to. I'm out
You
there.
can get one. I can get you one right now. I'll pick my phone up right now. Get you a vending machine.
Apparently, that's what I need to do.
Okay, so here's a little bit of a fun question. We haven't done this one yet, but this is a fun that
Okay.
some people might already know. But if you could pick any Pokemon to be like your real life Pokemon partner, let's change direction. What would that be? I already know the answer, but for those who are listening, what's your favorite Pokemon and who would your Pokemon partner be? Oh, who's that?
My Arcanine, of course.
So,
My
do you
trusty
like
Arcanine.
the original, or are you a fan of the Hisuian?
I do like the Hisuian, but I don't know. It's not like I still like the original one the best.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they could have made the Hisuian one a lot cooler looking, as opposed to just being a darker version of what Arcanine has been. But you know, it's Arcanine's getting some love finally, so I got that going for me. So I can't really complain. If they would
Give
just
us a
make it a
gold
freaking,
Arcanine. Give us a gold Arcanine.
I'll settle for any ultra rare at this point,
Right,
please.
right.
Like, and then they finally announced Hisuian Arcanine, and it's a freaking regular hollow. I'm like, come on, guys, come on.
I know. Maybe, but if it's good enough, maybe it'll get a gold form. You know, they put the regulars.
Look, maybe
They
yeah,
give those. They
it's
don't
true.
ever do the V's as the gold form. It's like the regular one. So
Maybe Space Juggler will have a gold Arcanine in it. That'd be sick.
that would be sick. Or I'm still waiting on my Pete's Dragon, my shiny Dragonite. We've never had a shiny Dragonite. Never.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
And
Weird.
it would be such a beautiful gold card. The green Dragonite on the full art gold. It would look really beautiful, I think.
Yeah, now's the time to do it because Dragonite's actually being played in decks right now.
Right. And so like I feel like that would be, I've been saying it since like celebrations. I've been like, give us a shiny Dragonite, but they didn't, and then they didn't in Evolving Skies.
I mean, you know, the sleepy boy Dragonite is a thing.
I can't
in Evolving
complain.
Skies, so you know,
As a Dragonite lover,
still get more love than Arcanine is.
yes,
Come on.
yes, absolutely. Okay, I will give you that. And Arcanine's a cool. So my favorite Pokemon growing up was Growlithe, so I can very much so relate with Arcanine. Like I would have said Growlithe until I was like in my 30s. For some reason, I switched. I'm now an Eevee lover.
It's okay. You can come back anytime. You're not locked in.
Tell that to Growlithe. He's a little mad at me, but
no, he's okay. He'll get over it.
Yeah, but no, I think that Pokemon is really knocking it out of the park. I mean, we're getting close to about 3 hours here, so I think
are
this
we?
Is probably
oh yeah,
we're
it is.
Close.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is a good place to kind of get a good little wrapping up point. But I mean, overall, I think that Pokemon is still, even after the 25th anniversary, after the whole 25th, because I would have thought, and a lot of people thought that like after the 25th anniversary, it was just gonna people like, oh, it's done, nothing to look forward to. What? Because everyone would say, oh, 25th anniversary, whenever they're talking about what could come more from Pokemon. They say, oh, well, the 25th anniversary. Right. Now that that's come and gone, I still feel good about Pokemon. I don't feel like it's just like over. I feel like we still have more to look forward to. So I just want to say I'm feeling good. I hope maybe the viewers out there have taken that from the stream. It's been really nice talking. Honestly, this conversation has been really enlightening in a lot of ways.
I feel like we covered a lot. We went all over the place, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, and I feel like the stuff that we did talk about was really, really good to like have out there on YouTube, because like there's some difficult things, like as a seller and like someone who like interacts with like followers and like selling something, it's hard to be a seller in some regards. Like, so it's good to have these talks about, like, I think the efficacy of selling and like the reasons behind why people do things. And like, I think it's always nice to hear about like why you got your start. So it means a lot to me that you came on, that you were able to like talk about
Oh,
that, and
yeah,
you gave the
absolutely.
time. So I really appreciate that. So yeah,
Uh,
thanks a lot, man.
I've been just waiting for the invite and the opportunity, really. So,
Yeah,
um,
we've been doing these lives. We try to do them once a week, but I have so many people that I feel like I need to talk to, that I want to talk to, but not just that I want, but I need to talk to. That it's
right.
like I'm definitely going to be working some. I've got some in the pipeline for these. So this will be a trainer spotlight series, but this will be the longer series, and I'll probably have like a sub theme to it too, like a card shop. Like, so you say you want to start a card shop or something, you know?
Look, whenever you want to make another one or talk some more, I'm down. If you're going to be talking to me, you may as well be recording it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's just lost content if we're not recording it. So,
Right, for both of us. I mean, we need that. What are we doing if we're not recording it?
yeah, exactly.
I'm just quiet when the video's not recording. I don't say. I have something over my mouth. You can't hear me talk. It's like I only talk when I'm being recorded. It's like not worth my time otherwise. I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, I sit in my store and I don't even acknowledge people. I'm just
Until the
why.
YouTube turns on, and then Mason's back, right?
Yeah, and I need to get like a GoPro, so I just flip it on and I'm like, all right, now I can talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thanks again for coming on, Mason.
that's what
And
we're leaving off on. Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah, that's a perfect way to finish with. I think we went over so much though that
Hmm.
we're gonna leave the viewer with a great little listen here. But if you haven't already, please by all means go follow Mason. Go to his
Yeah,
website.
what
Go
are you
to
doing?
Cardinal
What are you
Gaming.
doing anyways? Like,
Yeah,
what do
what
you?
are you doing? If you're not following Cardinal Gaming, why are what are you doing here if you're not following
You
there?
could have
But
been on cardinalgaming.com while listening to us.
you've been buying all kinds of stuff. You could have been watching the video game streams. Like you could have been.
Oh
What are
my
you doing?
goodness.
Yeah, let's watch the old card shop instead. But please go
Jeez.
support the website. Go check out what they've got. They've got some cool merch too. So even if you just want a cool shirt, like a cool sweatshirt and stuff,
I got some merch on
those
the way too. I got some merch on the way that
ooh.
I'm gonna drop. Hopefully it's here in time for April 1st. I'd love for it to be. It's
Oh my. April 1st themed. Okay, I might have to make my first purchase from your shop. Well, technically second purchase, but
hmm,
whatnot doesn't count. But yeah. So we'll have to keep your
sure.
eyes on that, or our eyes on that, man. Well, thanks again. We'll cut
Of
it there.
course.
If you haven't, go follow Mason, and if you haven't already, follow us too. We appreciate the like and subscribe. And until the next time, thanks for coming by, guys.
Goodbye.